G'day, citizens. Good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in this verse of ours. How you doing, Algared?
I'm fairly well. Been a long week.
Don't tell him I'm not awake. I'm not awake yet. Yes. So, Algared, you've been back at school, yeah? That's why it's been a long
We've
week.
had at the YouTube because it just started. But yeah, so we're back at school this week. No students, just teachers doing our yearly or annual professional development and that type of stuff. So we're looking at building learning power, which is a new approaches to educational theory. Actually, got a lot of merit. So we're doing a lot with that. And yeah, so that was this week.
So as a part of that, we need to inform you guys, we have to move the show because Algared found out that he has every second Friday taken up now. So we're going to be moving it to, so it's our Friday when as we record this right now, 5 a.m. So for you guys, it's Thursday in the up over. So that means it'll be moving to Friday your time, and Saturday our time.
Saturday morning for us.
Same time at the moment, and we'll, if that doesn't work, we may need to adjust it. So we ask you guys for a little bit of flexibility while we move it, and yeah, we'll have to put some posts up. But yeah, as of next week, it'll be. Is that when we have to do it, Algared? Next week? Get us to move next week.
Although next week I'm also at the Bar Citizen in Canberra.
Oh, great! So I've got to get someone else. Great. Good to know.
Yes, I actually realised that this morning.
I have to get Algared replaced again. Okay, and I can do this. I'm getting replaced. We'll get John in or someone to take over for you for next week. I don't know. Maybe we'll find a celebrity guest. I don't know. I have to go.
Actually, I have to double check what time my transport's leaving. I might possibly.
Why don't you do it live? Why don't you do it live from the Bar Citizen, huh? You know, get a portable platform and get on the phone, you know, not be a slacker, you know?
Well, because Bar Citizen's in the evening, we're doing it in the morning. I might actually not.
Take your phone with you and just send me your video feed and do it from your hotel room.
Yeah, but we may not. I may not have left yet, so I'm leaving on the Saturday. So I just got to check time. So I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I could probably. Luna Mara's saying I should replace you with Expat, so yeah, maybe I will. So yeah. So apologies if you got used to this time, and this time is better for you, but it cannot be helped. They actually gave you a very weird timetable too. It's like a 2-week timetable, so every second Friday he was not available.
Well, we've always got a 2-week timetable, so we always do week A. So we've always got a 2-week cycle.
But this time both Fridays are off. The new one, every second Friday is on. So yeah.
Yeah, timetables change every year, and they are a nightmare to do.
Yeah. So yeah. So we'll remind you of that a few times through this episode, because obviously next week people are going to be going, "Where are you?" So yeah, get used to that.
Yep.
I've got a few little.
Get our banner up early, the same day, but just have it 24 hours instead of. So they'll be waiting. I've got 48 hours to wait for the next stream.
Yeah. So yeah, it's also making it harder for me and Algared, because we usually leave the weekend as like this casual time to record the episode, and now we're realizing we're completely losing our weekend because we've got to essentially stream on Saturday and then do a show on Sunday.
Do one of our
episodes. Yeah, it's definitely going to make things more chaotic for me and Algared. But
especially based on our release times for our videos, because.
So we may. I'm actually thinking, Algared, we might actually not release on Monday either. We might push Saturday too and release on Tuesday in the up over. So we could record. We'll be releasing on Wednesdays. That way they're a little bit split up. But we'll have a talk about that. The recorded one doesn't matter as much as the live one, because also we've got to be here for the live one.
Yeah. The upside is, like, you know that there were times throughout the year where I had the camps, and so had to, was unavailable, and so filming on a Saturday should mean that is not happening.
Yeah, so it fixes other things, obviously, as he's saying. So yeah. Anyway, all right, the bot is going, so your question should start coming in. We were thinking IRC was starting this week, and then they dropped it at the start of the week saying, no, it'll be next week.
Okay.
So yeah, again, no IRC again this week. Yeah. The other thing I did this week was I started looking, how much is it really going to cost me to get a citizen gun? That's the other thing. And I nickeled and dimed, and I got it down to 3,500 Australian dollars. So, I mean, I'll do, hang on, I'll put it through a currency conversion, because it's not as steep as it sounds when I convert it back to freedom units. Just give me 2 seconds. Change that to Australia. I gotta change this to United States, and then check in 3.5k. So it's about $2,305 in freedom units. So that's about the minimum I need to get there. And that's to fly from my local airport to Melbourne, from Melbourne to London, from London to Manchester. And then accommodation for a week in a share house that I looked at. I'm already organising a share house for us, Algared, between 8 to 10 people. And well, if Paul's coming with his missus, and the same for Space Tomoto and his, that's already 6 people. And we've got a guy in the UK that wants to come with us with his missus, so we're already at 8. So we kind of,
I like the idea about that. Was the barn, wasn't it?
There was the barn. We also looked at some other things. And me and Aga were talking about doing like an Aussie barbecue while we're there, because it'll be summer.
A bar citizen. I like that idea, you know.
Or a barbecue bar citizen or something. I don't know, barbecue barn citizen. I don't know. We'll come up with something.
I like the idea of doing the barn and doing a kind of a small gathering and calling it a barn citizen.
So yeah, but it's a lot of money for a short period of time. So I've got to consider what I want to do, because like if I go, like me and Aga were thinking about, because you fly in, you're obviously tired because it's taking 24 hours to get there. Then you kind of have like a day before to hang out, then 2 days of the convention, and then what we heard from last year was that they had a day to pack up, and then the day after all the devs went and hanged out. So I was thinking it'd be really cool if we could hang out with the devs, maybe help them pack up and then go hang out with them as well. And that would get us from Thursday right around to the following Wednesday, essentially. But we'll have to see what happens there. And I'd be interested to know how many of you guys are going too, like, because I'm going to be honest, me and Aaron talked about this quite a lot. It's not the actual convention I'm super interested in, it's the people. And I mean both CIG and you guys. Because we went, like it was the whole reason I came up to the Sydney one, and it was just meeting people that it was awesome to relate to normal people. Yeah.
Our citizens are totally different from what you expect.
Yeah.
Because of the people, and I don't think, I got the feeling you didn't really believe me until you actually experienced it.
Yeah, and after I experienced it, I deliberately went out and sought out that the virtual bar citizen as well, because I got it from that as well. And that's the only one I can really regularly attend, because, well, there's a guy down here organising one for Tasmania, but at the moment there's 2 of us. So, and apparently that's sometime in March. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we do. I'll be honest. We do keep mooting Tasmanian one in the bar citizen Discord. But I don't think they've ever really got much traction.
Yeah. Well, I don't care if it's just like the 2 of us. I said we'll just go have lunch or whatever, and it'll be fine.
But I have had impromptu bar citizens in town, in Sydney, where
you know what, you should return the favor and come down. That's what we'll do. You can come down and we'll just have lunch on the weekend. Me, you, and this other guy. It'll be great.
We'll have to work a time when.
When's the last time you were in Tassie? Have you ever been down here?
I've never been to Tassie. It's one of those places I want to go to.
What the?
Believe it or not. Especially since I've been to Queensland, which I didn't really want to go. But
Yeah, I think a lot of people are turned off by the cold weather here, but you come right now, no problem. None at all. You would fit right in. In fact, the thing that most landless stuff up is they stay outside for too long and get burnt. We have some kind of weird problem here with the sun, and you can tell mainlanders because they walk around looking like lobsters. It's quite funny. But yeah.
Walk around with what? Sorry.
They walk around in the sun too long, and they look like lobsters. Like they you can tell a mainlander because they've stayed out in the sun too long. Like you can feel yourself burning here because of the dry heat. It's really weird, and yeah, so we just generally stay inside during summer.
Oh, that sounds like me.
Yeah,
I go outside.
Mm.
I'm a lobster.
All right.
And
I put that in the wrong thing. I'm an idiot. I put the.
So first question for you.
Hang on. I put the bot in the wrong thing. There we go. Now we go. New questions coming in. There you go.
Work. We had got those questions previously.
Okay, cool.
The first question that came in was, do Tasmanians have a different dialect than the people on the mainland?
Not a different dialects, but we definitely have different sounds. I saw this question on Reddit the other day. People saying, do Australians have different accents? And we do. It's very noticeable when you put a Queenslander and a Tasmanian together. And
I noticed that with Northern Territory, I had a nephew who went and lived in the Northern Territory for a while, and not a nephew, a cousin. And he picked up more of that drawl. The drawl became more pronounced, so it wasn't necessarily different dialect and different words. It was just the drawl, you know.
I had a younger brother or friend who said this now, but someone came back a couple of months ago, and they were saying that we have a lower tone to our voices. Even the women have a lower tone to their voices in Tassie. So
yeah, never noticed it, but
yeah. And to put it to our American audience, it'd be almost like, you know, someone in Florida versus someone in Texas, and then someone in New York versus someone in, you know, up in, when you spread it out, they change. So yeah,
I imagine, and I haven't spoken to too many Western Australians, but I imagine they would have the widest, if it was dialect, just because they are separated by that tyranny distance, where the rest of us were all on the East Coast.
Yeah. But again, accents have got a lot to do with the temperature of where you live and the humidity and things like that. So that's the traditional Australian, you know, the crikey, you know, that's a Queenslander, and I'd almost say it's more north. It's the northern Queensland. So that's the one that's probably the famous one.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
I think the Paul Hogan one would be more of a Sydney, because he's a Sydney.
Agreed.
So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I was thinking, I didn't think it was more of accent or dialect, but more of a slang terms were different.
I can actually probably look up this next question really quickly, because I did send them to you at some point, but I'll go back and see if I can find them. Give me a minute. So the question, I didn't catch it was by Algared. Can you read the question for me? I read it and then I closed it.
The second question, but didn't show up when you restarted the bot.
Yeah.
Was, which ships do you think might get Red Festival paint?
That's the one. I was about to say, you better be reading the one I'm talking about. Right.
Oh, well, so any chance, maybe, possibly, if we're lucky, for a Corsair or FHC?
No. I could tell you that right now. That's a no.
I remember more, the ones we saw.
I've got them all up on the screen right now, so I'm gonna flip them over, but they are all Origin. Every single one of them is Origin. So you've got the 100 series, of which there is 4. So there are all 4 Origin ones. There is the 400i, there is this 600i, and it actually had all 3 bikes as well. So yeah, that is all of them. And if you're wondering where these come from, they're from the SC Leaks Discord, and that is the way they extract these from the files. These are the textures that appear in the holo viewer where you apply your paints. So you'll notice they're always on that 45-degree angle in every single one.
Because it comes from the holo viewer.
Yep. What else is there in there? They have St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day there as well. I won't bother going through those now. They've even got the subscriber flare ones that are coming out at the moment for the demo rally type of thing. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Right. Does that answer that question? I think it does. Okay.
I think it does.
Quite concisely. Right. Next question, please, Algared.
The next question is from Oric Nova. And Oric Nova asks the question of, he says, have we seen Farastar's video on ship insurance? I haven't seen Farastar's video on ship insurance.
Don't know if that one came up in my feed, but I can go have a look at it, yeah.
But the second part of it is what's our take on the future implementation of ship insurance and LTI?
I don't think LTI is as big as people think it is. I think well, back in the day, it was assigned $15 of value, wasn't it, from memory? Which is not a, yeah. It's not. It's essentially, if they go where we think they're going, that is your base variant. As soon as you change a gun, as soon as you put cargo on your ship, as soon as you change a component, the question always became, do you have to repay for the entirety of this insurance again, or do you just have to pay for what you upgraded? And I don't think which either of those two they choose, Algared, I don't think it really matters too much. Personally, I think it probably should just be what you changed, to give LTI a little bit of validation. But to be honest, if they just put crazy loadouts, like let's, for example, look at what they've done to the Redeemer, where they put 4 ballistas on that thing, that's an offensive ship. It does not need ballistas. It needs like laser repeaters. It basically means you've got to rip them off anyway, so you're going to be paying for them anyway. And a lot of the gun loadouts, the default ones, are weird. They don't work. Or you can think of all the ships that you and I have had to change guns on, like the Hurricane, and like the list would go on for a week. And I think it's going to be quite a common thing to pay for insurance. And this is the other part. What Chris said to me way back when I did that interview with him, is basically one mission should pay for insurance for your ship for an entire month.
Yeah,
that's how minimalistic they are.
And I think we've got this people see this differentiation between lifetime insurance and ship hull insurance. Ship hull insurance and LTI are exactly the same thing. They cover exactly the same aspects of a ship, the ship that came from the factory. The question, as you said, is, do we have to, when we make changes, do we need to then reapply an insurance to those components, or are they uncovered by insurance? It was always you'd get the ship back as it was. I know in the current format, you make changes, it kind of that's what you get back. So we're not sure on that. But ship insurance itself, ship hull insurance and LTI, they're exactly the same thing. The difference is LTI is that very small bonus or privilege you get for buying in early.
Yeah, it's a peace of mind,
yeah.
If there is something that you like, let's think of an example, and the one I'm thinking of is the Pioneer.
Yeah.
If you've got to get it without the insurance, and that's the only way you can get it, which is the only way you can get it right now, then get it. Because again, the cost and maintenance of that insurance, and we've said this a few times, and I asked him this when I asked the question. I actually said, "Is it going to be like Freelancer was?" Right? And essentially, if you know this game at all, Wing Commander is essentially Squadron 42, and Freelancer is essentially Star Citizen, right? So it's just like it was in Freelancer, where your insurance was so minimalistic, it was just this small upkeeping fee. And again, one mission should cover you for an entire month, right? So that's how little it was. Now, whether that changes or it scales slightly, who knows? But again, it's meant to be this small fee, not this bleeding you dry mentality.
But even if the insurance scales with the ship, thing is,
it will. The mission
one base mission on that ship will cover the insurance.
Exactly,
is the idea.
Yeah, the insurance does scale with it, but also does the missions do as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, so, and I think that's one of the things people have to remember. Yeah, if you try and take a Javelin and do one of the standard box missions, three little carry box.
Can we get a follow-up statement from the person that asked that question? And can you kind of give us a rough summary of what Farrister talked about in his video? I will go watch it later, but I'm just interested to know what his thought pattern was now. Is he in a similar vein to us, or is he completely different and opposed to us? But I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Not that he's entitled to his opinion. I've got no problem with that. I just want to see what his opinion was. So if you can give us a quick summary, just put question statement or reply or something like that, so we know that it was from you, about the context of that video.
But my my take on LTI has been, and as you'd know, is I think CIG should just give LTI to every person, every ship that is purchased on the store.
But
if you buy it with credits, like store credits, or you buy it with cash, it's got LTI.
I've just realized something. I actually referred to this the other day in a post I replied to. I called them the Ministry of Lies. So when I call them that now, that's what I mean. But who I'm referring to is the marketing team, the Ministry of Lies. So the Ministry of Lies uses it as a FOMO tool. They use it as a tool to go, yeah, if you get in now, you'll get your LTI. If you don't get in now, you won't get it. You know, so they use it like that technique when everything's on sale. So buy now or it won't be cheap. Buy now or it won't be cheap. They use that LTI as the same thing. And really, LTI is not that important.
As we've said in the past, you know, LTI is a bane that we have made ourselves.
It's nice to have, but it's not essential. And I think the how do I put it? The crux of this, Algared, and I think you would agree because we've talked about this a few times, is the more expensive a ship becomes, the more relevant it is. So to give you an example of that, CIG kind of tip they had to this a bit as well, is if you spend over $1,000 on a ship, it comes with LTI. You know, and that's why things like the Pioneer are just like, oh, why would you do that? You know, like, yeah.
The way to get around that for smaller ships, if you really bust to get it and you can't help, you know, not CCUing, is the game pack, because the game pack is over $1,000. All the things that get the LTI, but it really is part of that FOMO aspect. It really, you know, there is that element where LTI is, because we as backers clamored for it. Even before Disco was working for CIG, people were clamoring for it. And I can remember Disco doing vids saying, it's nothing. It's, you know, a number of times I'd see a video in 2014 of Disco saying, LTI is not a thing. It's a small convenience. Yeah. But as backers...
I think what you said earlier, you and I have... Not just you said that, but both of us have been saying that for years. I think the fix for this, and it would solve so many other problems that come off this, right? A part of the whole CCU thing and all that stuff is this streamlining of the whole process. But as you said, if everything just came with LTI, the confusion around it would just...
And it just said, you know, it's bought on the store with cash or credits, or store credits, LTI. If it's bought in game, they'll never... Because there should be insurance.
What's that Australian saying? Like a fart in the wind. It would just disappear overnight and be gone, because it just it's just creates so many problems and dramas, and it's very disappointing when what's the one that we saw recently in one of the Fix My Fleets? That guy with the 890 jump, right? When we rolled into that pack, it would have been 6 months ago now, actually, I think about it. But it feels like yesterday. But you know, that was the only one we couldn't get LTI on out of all those really big ships he had. And just because the 890 jump is limited and hard to get.
And so the only way to get it was that, or in the pack. And that made, it was one of those cases where if you really want it on that ship, the only way to get it is to go a pack. And then you go, well, I only want 6 ships. Oh, I've got 6 ships. Okay, let's just...
Do you know I've just thought of a really easy win-win that would work for CIG and that would work for everyone, right? Now, you tell me if this is not the most easy way to raise money ever. They put all the price of the ships up by $15, and they sell for $15 for the ability to upgrade your ship to have LTI. So how much money would they make? Holy shit!
You mean you have 2 prices of ships like a war bond?
No. Just that they have an upgrade in the store that you can buy. That's $15 that you apply to any ship, and it changes the insurance to be lifetime. And then from then on, all ships come with LTI, so all the prices of the ships go up by $15. That would make so much money.
I possibly could. Now, I'm going to ask you to do a favor for me, X.
Sure.
Can you share the stream?
Oh, shit. All that time? Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've been watching on YouTube, but...
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, sorry.
Okay, but it's disconcerting
delayed. Sorry.
Having the stream about a minute behind where we are.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, it just shows you how quickly you got set up. I forgot to do certain things. Apologies.
That's okay.
I know. Would I guess I want to do a kind of poll around that, Algared, real quick. Would you, you know, because it would make money for CRG, right? So that's you got to remember, there's the money raising aspect and the funding of the game, but the positivity and the streamlining of the complexity of the process. So I'm trying to figure, how do I put that into a question, Algared? Would you LTI for all at the cost of $15? Yes or no? Yeah, would that cover it? LTI for all? LTI.
Personally,
for an extra $15. Yeah. So I hope you guys understand the question. So there's a poll going on that one, and I'll do it on Twitch now. And yes and no. I'm just curious to see what you guys think. Is it a crazy idea? 80%? Holy shit! Right. And what's Twitch say? Twitch didn't say anything. Twitch is asleep. Wake up, Twitch. All right. Oh, they're pretty evenly split. There's only 7 votes so far. 50-50. Wow. All right. So Twitch is a lot more.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I struggle with it myself. I like the idea, and yet
it'd obviously be optional on. It'd be optional on older ships, but all new ships from then on would come with LTI.
Yeah, but my.
Or do you make it an option, Algared? Like maybe it's just a permanent option across the board. So all ships don't come with LTI, but if you spend an extra $15, they come with LTI. I don't know. That's an interesting idea, though. You know, would you pay
all bond versus credit?
Well, it'd make them so much extra money. Like think about it. Every ship they sell,
LTI would make it a crap ton.
It would make a crap ton of money.
My concern is that ships are already too expensive.
Yeah,
realistically.
Yeah, they are. But again, give the customer what they want. I don't know. That's my question. I don't know.
Yeah.
Think how much easier it would make me. Think how much easier it would make yours and my job. We would just wouldn't have to do anything. Yeah, just add LTI, done. You know, or whatever the problem is. You know,
the problem is, to me, that is like a best fader solution.
We would still have to rearrange people's fleets, though, but it would make it a lot easier to do so. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just find a $15 extra charge is kind of like a best fader solution to the problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
we've got a first time chatter. Boo Boo Daxi says, in the long run, they might lose money. Can you elaborate on that, please, Bud Daxi? Because I don't quite understand that. So you elaborate, and I'll read that one too. Sorry, Algared, go ahead.
So I find that I feel it should be something that's already there. We shouldn't be being charged extra for putting the cash in. Now, I get the idea was always that the insurance was a money sink. The idea of ship insurance was to absorb take some of that cash out of the game. So I get that. And lifetime insurance kind of negates that money sink. But there are other areas for money sinks.
Yeah.
Cargo insurance, housing, hangar fees, repair costs, fuel costs. So you can always factor those into the game as well. But because LTI has become such a thing, it'd just be better just to nip it in the butt.
Yeah.
Not charge extra for it, just nip it in the butt. Now that's just my take. You know.
Maybe, hopefully, before we get to release something that they can but again, they looked like they were. You correct me if I'm wrong here, but it looked like they were doing a lot of money raising last year, like with the F8 and stuff like that, and then there was things found in the files for the F7A and things like that. So I don't know. What do you think, Algared? Do you think that was them worried about funds? Because that's how it appeared. Like on paper, right? And you talk about like, oh, it doesn't really matter if they were $8 million behind the year before, as an example, right? But on paper, the media would have eaten them for breakfast. That's why they did it. They didn't want to see those press articles. Star Citizen finally losing money or whatever. That's what they were trying to cut off.
Yeah, I don't think the issue is whether they make as much, whether they take in as much this year as they did last year. The question should always be, did they make profit in terms of is their bottom line positive versus their payouts to their staff and the buildings and everything else versus, you know, that's the key.
So we had 20, 60, so about a little bit, 78 votes if I do my math correctly, right? And basically very close on both platforms. So 70% said yes on YouTube and 65% said yes on Twitch. So pretty close. Yeah, it's interesting. Again, I think it becomes down to player choice. I think if you don't want LTI and you've got your ship, you wouldn't need it. And then so maybe it doesn't automatically come with all ships. You just have the option to upgrade into it if you want. That'd be kind of really cool because I definitely know it'd be a lot easier to move fleets around. But I don't know. Player choice is I think, yeah. I think they'd make a lot of extra money on it too, and they could do little packs and stuff like be much better for newer players. Like I could think of all the little things, and they could do little promos where they give LTI away for free, for example, like they chuck it into a bundle, Algared, you know, the Christmas Pisces bundle for 2027 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like so when they do that stuff, it comes with free LTI, $15 off, $15 discount.
But you're still feeding into the FOMO aspect.
No, I think you're not, because again, it's always there and you can pay $15 for it. And if they monetize it to $15, it shows you how it's not as valuable as it should be. And I can't remember where it was, right? But I remember when it was $15 for something. It was, I think it might have been the Redeemer. Remember how it had that package and they had you could buy the package, and then after it came out, it then disappeared and it went from $275 to $260. So it was a $15 difference. I think that's where it came from.
But wasn't it also with the game pack itself? So
it was with the game pack. They both came with the game pack, but one came with LTI and the other didn't come with LTI.
Yeah,
and so it was the first time we could actually say, well, LTI is worth $15. I'm pretty sure that's where it was. And for some reason, you were frozen in this monolithic pose. Anyway.
Yeah, it had unfrozen, but I was there stuck like that for a little bit. Yes. But yeah, I still struggle with it. I still think that I get what's there. I get that it does encourage purchase. It's but I think that it should just be included on anything we buy in the shop. Anything that's purchased with cash or store credits should have LTI. Yeah. I've always thought that. It's something I've always argued and maintained, but just because of the expense. Because it's not cheap. It is a AAA. It's rated as a AAA game, and yes, we are supporting the development, and that's part of it. But
that's my main part of it. So basically, it does fund development, but then we get what we want to. So
yeah. So
I've had to restart the bot. It's having some issue with Twitch. I'm just going to do a test one.
Notice the bot has. I do.
Oh, no, it's working. Okay, Twitch is working. They're just not asking questions. All right. Yeah, so there's a lot of double ups there. I do apologize. So maybe just skip down to the bottom one, because they're like, see, they've all gone back into single file. So Auric Nova.
Some of them.
No. Trust me. Go right down to here. I'm going to mark it for you with an emoji.
Yeah, I can see it. You've started 3 times.
Yeah. So, that one. Start there, please. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. I'm just going to check that.
I did. I double checked. Yeah, I double checked. It's all clear.
The Jack Boom TV's question should be the next one.
Yep. Okay, so what kind of capital ship do you expect Anvil and Crusader? Do you expect for Anvil and Crusader? I think it would have to be for Crusader. It would have to be that what's it called? I'm having a brain fart. The Jupiter is what it's called.
The carrier.
Yeah, the carrier. Some kind of utility carrier from them, or transport ship, or Look what you've got from already. We'll put it this way: I think Algared would lose his mind if they did a giant warship.
Yep.
I think Anvil obviously has to be military. Where are these big military ships they're meant to have? So yeah, what that will spit out, who knows? So yeah, I do think though. How do I put this? There's only a couple of manufacturers left, surprisingly, that don't have a capital ship, right? Because you can look at weird things like the Orion, that's a capital. You can look at the Reclaimer, that's technically classed as a capital. I know they're not as big as they should be, but you know, the Javelin's already there, so Aegis are covered. Idris is already there, so they're covered as well. But things like Argo, they don't have a big one. And as you said, Crusader and Anvil. But the only one I'd kind of add to the list, Algared, would be Argo. Is there another one you could think that may need to go into that big capital class?
Yeah. Ultimately, you know.
What did you say, sorry?
I think that would be about it. There might be another one. I just can't think of one at the moment.
Yeah.
But you know, RSI has got the Bengal.
Yeah.
I don't need the Orion. They've got the Bengal.
Yeah, so Buduxy says Consolidated Outland. Well, Consolidated Outland is the Pioneer.
Yep.
So again, it doesn't have to be a warship. You're gonna remember that. Yeah, so Buduxy, this is in reference to his thing before. He said the incentive for LTI is to get your fresh money for a slight discount in comparison to stored credit. They can get around $45 used for an LTI token, and income would dry out, for example. All right, so what he's saying is people wouldn't be buying LTI tokens, so the money amount would go down. But I think you would find the amount of people that would pick up LTI on all their older ships, they would get a huge influx of cash. Even if they only made it temporary. Even if they only made it for a month, you can buy an upgrade for LTI. There'd be people that just stockpile those things because then they can put it on all future ships or sell them to other people down the line. They would make an absolute motherload.
It'd kill the idea of CCUing. It'd kill the idea of LTI tokens.
Yeah, it would kill LTI tokens, but it wouldn't kill CCUs. So yeah.
But it wouldn't kill CCUs because people would just buy a starter pack. Wouldn't just buy whatever ships there to start with.
But I don't think that's a bad thing because it simplifies it.
No.
Yeah.
But you know, like, I get what you're saying. I just, you know.
I just put the thought out there. It was just a thought that came to me in the moment, and I feel like I've set the world on fire. I've definitely set one under you. I can tell by the way you're talking. Like, oh, yeah. All right.
I am Gollum.
Yeah. Mariel Walker says, "Good day, Execute and Algared. Greetings from Puerto Rico. Seeing that CIG has added new ship sale event this year, do you think that they will add a ship sale that has all ships besides IAE?" I love the fact that he spelt sail like a sailboat, not an SAL, but that's cool. Obviously not your first language, Miguel. So, added a new sale event this year. Do you think that they will add a ship sale that has all ships besides AIE? So I think they're talking about will they do the 24 mega sale 2023 next year, or what is it? In case you missed it, I think they called it. But yeah. My name's better anyway. I might be biased though. But I don't know. Yeah, I think that's kind of, I can see that kind of being a regular thing, and it gives them a free sale type of thing in this lull period. And we are in a patch lull period, you know. I don't know, which is harder for you, Algared? I don't like the September one, the September lull period. That's the hardest one for me personally. This one, yeah, I've kind of got things to do. It's the summer, so for me it kind of goes quicker. I guess it's a bit different in the up over though, so I'd almost expect it to be opposite. Algared?
Yeah, yeah. I've never really. I know that everyone else seems to have this lull period where they struggle for content. I've never really felt we've really struggled for content.
No, we haven't.
No, we do. You know.
What about the sale though? Do you think they'll add a sale that has all ships besides AIE? Well, we've got AIE and Invictus, so technically there is 2 already. But he says all ships. Me and Algared have talked about this, and my stance is I think we'll eventually get you know, a patch every quarter type of thing that they were planning to go towards. I think there'd be almost a sale with those patches every time, Whether it's all ships is another question.
Yep. So I think when we get patches, I think we'll get. I vaguely recall we get a patch and then there'd be kind of that salvo to go with the ships that came out with that. And that was just because that's when the new ships were being released.
If you kind of work it out, this is just my line of thinking, right? And you correct me if I'm wrong. We've got AIE, which is everything. We've got the military one, which is Invictus. So what's missing, right? And my brain goes to these two, right? Is an industrial one.
Yep.
So like some kind of industrial expo, which is the opposite of Invictus, obviously. And then the last one would be one that tailors to something like, I don't know, I'm going to pick one, and probably people hate this, but like a vehicle one. So it's just based on vehicles or something, you know.
I could even see one just based on luxury.
That too. So maybe it's one that rotates. You know, it's something different every time.
I suppose you could say a touring one, because that's looking at anything that gets you from point A to B that they want.
Yeah. Oh, hey, actually, I think Architect TV on Twitch might have cracked it. One that's industrial and one that's commercial. That would do it too, as well.
That commercial picks up.
Yeah.
Touring and the rest of it. Yeah, that, you know, but that you have one that's everything, and then you've got the three kind of branches that do that, and then how you could make grounds for tying anything into those. So yeah, that would.
So I did want to go over this real quick, if we can, Algared. I'm just pulling something up. Because I think this is important to talk about. So this is the This Week in Star Citizen that dropped this week. And there's a letter here from Disco. Now, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but long story short, essentially says that they're going to be doing more content, or it's going to work out there's more Star Citizen lives than any year before, or more Inside Star Citizen than before. And essentially talking about how they'll be sharing more and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know what I want to actually say about that. I just want to, like, I've got this doubt. Prove me wrong. Thanks for telling me, but I'll believe when I see it, type of thing. So
no, I could see them doing it because they're ramping up this year. They're ramping up their media footprint, and you do more. We're talking about what's happening. More of those little episodes from just talk about Squadron.
Yeah,
little bits from what's happening in Squadron. Where are we going from here? As well as what's growing in the game and where we're going. I could see them doing it, but you increase your media footprint, you increase your media output to help build that momentum as you come closer to your release. So to me, it makes sense. To me, it just ties in with more of what I've been saying, based on the stuff we'd heard. But yeah, it looks like they're aiming for this year. I'm hoping to get Squadron out this year. If not this year, then I would imagine very early next year. But I fully expect Squadron to be in beta by the end of this year.
Well, let's hope we do get some more stuff, because it's always nice to have. And yes, we do get kind of spoiled for content compared to other games, but yeah, it still doesn't mean I don't want more. Give me more. Anyway, while I'm thinking of it, Algared, just a reminder, me and Algared are moving the show as of next week. It will be moving one day later. Algared was not able to meet this year's schedule because of his schoolwork, so we're going to knock it back.
Real world kicked in and said, no.
Yeah. Same time, different channel. No, same time, different day. So yeah, there are some advantages to this and some disadvantages. Obviously, I think the biggest one will be ISC will be a day later.
That's right. Or no more waiting.
Yeah, so no more waiting.
Next week we find out, but Disco's announced that they're releasing Inside Star Citizen on the Friday.
Yeah.
If that happens, we know that he's been trolling us.
Yes. Nice. We can confirm that. No, it'll be easy. It'll be easier to do those because they'll definitely be out by then. But again, it'll all be old news by then too. So that's the disadvantage of it. But can't be helped. We'll still be able to do all the questions anyway. So no kind of love lost there.
But in terms of the Inside Star Citizen, yes, everyone else will have watched it, but it was always still our reactions to the video. So, Strike. I'm still seeing newer or several week late episode. People doing first reaction to Bottom 42.
Yeah.
So, a reaction video is different from just watching it live.
Yeah. So we'll look at that, and obviously, if the time doesn't work, we'll talk about it again and think about moving again. But yeah, that's our plan for now. So hopefully that works for you guys. Right. Next question, Algared.
Arcane DRG says, question: considering so many ships and game loops are dependent on them, what do you think the chances are that we get drones sooner rather than later, and the ramifications that might have on gameplay? So 2 parts to the question. What do we think we're getting drones because so many ships and gameplays need them?
Yep.
We're ready. What are the ramifications?
Yeah. I'm going to just go out there and say I do think we are getting them this year. And my main reasoning for that is, I'll see if I can find it actually, while you answer, Algared, and then
I think just because we do know that ships like the Apollo have been worked on at some point, and they will get drones in, and he's right. So many ships need them. They're needed as an element where you want drones for your exploration. You need them for salvage. You need them for repair. You need them for ships like the Nautilus. You need them for the medical. So you do want them. The question is how many professions or how many ships absolutely and utterly need them, otherwise they're broken and cannot work at all. So ships that need them and cannot work without drones include the Vulcan, the Shepherd, the Apollo with its Shepherd drones, and to my thinking, the Nautilus with its drones. But every other ship that I can think of that's got drones can actually function in game currently without drones, and even the Apollo could function without drones.
Yeah. So I can't find it, but during CitizenCon when they did the base building panel, they had all those different slides they went through, and one of those slides is a guy walking with his back to the camera, and he's walking through, and there are all these drones building the buildings. Now, if base building's going in and they're planning to build it with drones, unless they're just going to auto construct them in their first build, like they just do automatically, I'd assume that they're going to chuck builds in there, drones in there somewhere. And even if they're like automated or something like that, what I'm trying to get at, Algared's talking about where they can come. I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure they are coming, because if they're in those shots, you'd assume that they'll be used there. So with the ramping up of the gameplay they're adding in, like the gameplay they've talked about, I'd be really surprised if we don't have them by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think one advantage of having drones is, certainly if you're doing base building, the advantage of doing drones to build the bases means you don't need to have NPCs doing that or avatars doing it, because the drones just are moving automatically. So I can see advantages in doing that. The question is, when they do them, I like you, I expect they'll come sooner than later, but I don't think we necessarily need them in terms of.
Oh, did I lose you? Hello? Oh, every millisecond. Had a stroke.
Must have drones, otherwise they cannot. I go again. Not have a stroke. My internet doesn't like me.
It's more funny when I say you've had a stroke. Blah, 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 like just when you come back like that, and we all hear this. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway. All right, next question, Algared. I think we've covered that one.
Yep. So I hope that answers the question, Archon. Okay, so Firefox says, we have not heard anything about the Liberator in a long time. Do you think the ship will go through large changes after concept, or do you believe it will remain the same? I'm showing my older my age because the Liberator's not that old a ship. So
no, it's not that old. It's only a couple of years old.
I only haven't heard anything about it for a long time. It's like, talk about a Javelin, or talk about a BMM, or talk about an Endeavour. They're old ships in terms of when they were concepted. That's a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what was the question again? It was by, who was it by? By
Firefox, I thought it was.
Yeah. We have not heard anything about the Liberator in a long time. Do you think the ship will go through any changes in concept? Do you believe it will remain the same? I think every ship changes, right? I don't think there's a single ship that doesn't change in some form. It's just how tiny or large that is. I do think as time's gone on, they've got better at kind of knowing what their game requires. But I do hope the Liberator changes. For me, it's got some, I don't know if it's deliberately built into it, but it's got some massive flaws. And the more time I've looked at it, you know, people have assumed that it's needed for the range of Pyro to ship ships across the system, and I think that is a part of its job. But I think its main job, now you can disagree with me here or agree with me if you choose to argue, but I think its main job is to get those smaller ships and smaller vehicles through the jump point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a shipping ship to get those small non-jump ship capable ships across. That's why it's got small pads rather than bigger pads. Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. In terms of the thinking, but yeah, so I don't think it's needed for moving across Pyro, because it certainly by the number of bases and Murrumpa stations that we've got in Pyro anyway. Maybe once upon a time that was the case.
Yeah.
But these days, I think it's clearly that jump point mechanic. Yeah. The fact that we know certain ships do not have capability for a jump point, a jump drive. Yeah. And you can see that. You go looking at your ships at the moment. Have a look. See if above your quantum drive there's a little slot. If there's no slot, you don't have a jump drive.
So I'm just reading what Lemming, one of our mods, said here in chat. He says it's a mobile base to me. I think it's not a mobile base though, because it's only really got facilities for a small number of people. It's not designed for long-term stay of the people, of the crew of those ships and stuff. It may be a mobile base for two, but it's not a mobile base for, say, you know, multiple people. That you've got to go to something like the Kraken to do that, in my book. So I think I think Badger's really put it eloquently when he said it's a shipping ship. Yeah. Because that's what it is. It is designed to move things, not to it's a ferry. You wouldn't live on it, you know. Where the Kraken is the you know, the mobile base. I think that's the major difference between the two.
Yeah, if I look at a mobile base, I'm thinking Kraken Endeavour. I'm certainly not thinking Liberator. Liberator is a
Endeavour, I think we've got to wait and see on that one, because I think that's going to have a big reconcept, but it's definitely possible, but not as functional. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't have as many facilities as the Kraken. Actually, the Kraken's got less facilities in another way, though, if you get what I'm saying. So
I think it depends on how you'd configure your Endeavour, but I think a lot of that will change. In the rework.
But there's more up in the air about that ship than almost any other, because of all of its components and stuff. It makes it very, and its age, obviously, as well. So
yes, Sebastian, the Liberator is a ferry. I 100% agree. Exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm just saw it in the chat. Apparently, Negativity says I sound like an American.
Okay. I don't know why. We get marked as British a lot, Australians. It's just kind of interesting. I'm online. But anyway. Right. Umbra Damemium says, question, when data comes in, do you think there'll be a different types of data collection for all basically the same? For example, collecting data from exploring from backing the concept, well, data is data, so it's all ones and zeros to the Herald or the MSR, but it'll be different types of data collection. So yeah, data is data. It's all ones and zeros. But yeah,
depends on how your data is stored.
Yeah. So
and if it's stored digitally, then it's all zeros and ones, and
yeah. But I think there'll be different types of data. So like location data is one, but then what type of location data is it? Is it the location of a base?
Yeah.
Is it the location of precious ores and minerals? Is it the location of a wormhole? But then there's other stuff like it's a how do I put this? Like it's a DNA sequence of a plant that you found or something like that. Is it the information of a person? We know that you can back up your stuff into, you can transfer your thing. Is that a digital thing? Can you actually, I don't know. Can you delete a person by deleting the data? There's another question. We're getting a bit matrixy there, but you get what I mean, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure you could delete the person, but you might be able to screw up their account. And I know there'll be, not their actual game account, but their in-game characters. And I imagine there's going to be checks and balances, just because I could imagine a nightmare of that would cause in terms of game account, the actual game package account type stuff. But yeah. But I do think it's probably more, the transfer of data is going to be more digital.
That one I've marked. I'm answering that one, okay?
When I see it, I'll see it.
Yeah, that's right. 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 Who's next? Brian. Question.
Brian.
Would the vulture fit on the Liberator? Technically, I believe it should. Yeah, it should. It would fit on the top in one of those two pads. I can go double check, but I'm pretty sure it's the top one in those top two areas.
Yeah.
But let me double check. Algared, you want to do the next question?
Yeah, the next one looks like it's picking up the question. The next one's actually a comment, and it's the question comes back to what value they should start at. And I think that's picking up that whole discussion on LTI and that. And I think that is the question. At what point would you begin that? So yeah. Ombro Demonian says, do you think bringing a decontamination from a viral bacterial infections would be tedious? I actually think that's something they've hinted at.
Yeah.
We've even got, there is a pandemic, but there's a couple of pandemics I think they've swept through. I can't remember, off the top of my head, I can't remember them. But I think there's one that's kind of a laughing disease. So you kind of...
No, it won't fit on the Liberator. According to this, it's 2 meters. How many meters? Hang on. It is 2 meters too long. It won't fit. So yeah, it's so they only have S2 size pads, and they have an S1. So there's two S2s and an S1, and an S2 is 32 meters, and the Vulture is 34 meters. So realistically, it doesn't fit. So yeah, it's a medium pad, not a small. So you might be shit out of luck with the Vulture, and that changes it again, doesn't it? Like, if you can't take a Vulture. Yeah.
I can imagine also depends where the landing gear is. So if the landing gear fits on the pad, but it hangs over, you could probably get away with it. But
yeah, you could. So you can physically fit it. The whole it fits thing. But whether it can actually access the services is the other question. And if you're going by pad metrics, it is too big. Anytime it exceeds one of those metrics, right? And I see if I can open this real quick on the browser, because this is a weird one to explain. Let's see if I can do this real quick so people can see what we're talking about. Yes, we can. Sweet. Let's flick this over. Right. So this is, someone went in and they extracted the data, the lines of code, right? So this is not an official CIG thing, but it's from their code, right? So this is, right? And you can see up the top there, but the real one you want to look at is this bottom one. And I'll try and zoom in on it. Just give me a second. right? So what you're looking at here, and this is why me and Algared now refer to it as S1 through to S6, right? Because you can see here, this is the second and third ones are the internal and then the external of what they call them. So this is what we call them: a snub, small, medium, large, and large capital. And that's what they call them internally. And so sometimes the developer would use the internal phrase and get it confused with the external phrase. And so we would get misinformation. So now we just use 1 through 6 and it solves the entire problem. But basically, the main one you're looking at there is the y-axis, right? So in the case of the vulture, it is 34 meters long. So that exceeds the y-axis of the small. So therefore, it pushes it into the S3. Right, and you can take a screenshot of this, or I can post it somewhere if you guys want it. But that's how I basically have this saved on my computer now, and I look this up, and then I just look up the length of the ship, and I can tell straight away whether it's going to fit or not. So yeah. And to give you an example, if we look at this one right here, see that y-axis, Algared?
Mm-hmm.
What's a ship that's exactly that y-axis?
Off the top of my head, I can't recall.
Starts with C.
Carrack.
Yeah, the Carrack is exactly 128 meters. Like, if it was a meter longer, it would not fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that just shows you how accurate these things are. They're down to the meter.
It is the largest subcapital ship.
Yeah.
Which is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so going back to the questions, Ombra had a question about bringing decontamination from viral, bacterial infections, etc. Will it be tedious? I think it's something I think it's something CIG are moving have always had in mind. But if you don't decontaminate, you could actually bring an infectious disease onto your ship.
I envision that they've hinted at like in-game events where there's a massive plague, and like all the medical people will have to work together to eliminate the plague and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely, it might be tedious because it'll be like a system-wide event. You know?
And I wouldn't be surprised. I'm pretty certain that there's lots of people in CIG who experienced that WoW plague.
Yep.
You know, and that was as horrid and disgusting as it was, because it ended up, it was an event they had, but kind of was bugged, so it kind of went haywire. But they want that type of event. They want those far-reaching events which impact people and how you deal with them. But they don't want it to be a bug, but they do want it to be something that's dangerous. I don't want to go to that system because the disease is there. I want to stay away from it. So, but decontaminating, you know, going to a place without a spacesuit could be deadly. Not decontaminating your spaceship your spacesuit could actually have a negative impact on your crew or your ship. Yeah. Is it too tedious? Some people might think that. Other people would relish that. And I think that's it. You're getting into a question of what gameplay do people like.
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. Like, so one person may enjoy it, someone else may hate it. And again, you want that variety as the spice of life thing. You know? It's like
the argument of PvP versus non-PvP. For PvP, someone who likes that. If it
became this epidemic that just was let run wild and it went through multiple systems and it was like just completely out of control, then it would be shit, right? But is that a possibility of what could happen? Absolutely. Like, that could be interesting. Like, it goes from one system to the next, and I reckon the entire game would turn to eliminate that shit.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. If it was a something which we can actually negate and stop, and I could imagine if it was a system that had it, you know, you could almost sense there'd be this attempted blockade of a system to stop it, and then there'd be some maggots out there who would deliberately infect themselves and try and bring it into a new system.
Yeah,
because.
But I could even see players that just want to get out of that system, but they keep respawning in it, and people are shooting them on sight as they come through the wormhole. No, we're not letting you bring the plague in here. So it'd be this really interesting.
100%. You know, so you get both. You get the people who are trying to sneak in, to spread it, and you have people who are just who don't have it, who are trying to get away.
Yeah.
And then,
well, you could actually have it so there's some kind of financial incentive tied to it. Like, so, like the people are dying, right? But after they die, it becomes non-transmittable, but there's some kind of fungi that has grown on them, and it's like really valuable. So they're actually harvesting the corpses or something
I think
bizarre. Yeah.
I think you're just adding more
Yeah.
complexity to something that doesn't need it at that point.
Again, this probably won't just happen once. You got to think of the entire lifetime of the game. So that might happen in one, in another, it's a different thing. Like everyone's head gets twice as big or something like that, you know?
Like I said, earlier, I do think there are at least two kind of pandemic type things that I can recall. Now I could just be mixing up my games, but I'm pretty certain there's at least two. And you read about them. You read at least about one of them in one of the lore stories. But yeah. So Jabberwocky, not Jabberwocky, but Jabberwocky says, "Do you think Asperia will make an alien capital ship?"
I think the biggest contender, now you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, Algared, would have to be Tavaran.
If I were building a capital ship, it would be a Tavaran ship, I think.
Yeah.
Unless they found the other wiped out race, plans for one of that.
And I just want to go out on a limb right now, and I think it needs to be like a really tiny bird, but like so something like the hummingbird or something like that.
Hummingbird, the massive, great.
Yeah, just this. I don't know. Think of it. I don't know. The bald eagle. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, have you ever seen the difference between a bald eagle and an Australian brown eagle? Have you ever seen the difference? It's like a Chihuahua versus like a Great Dane.
Yeah.
The bald eagles are puny.
Yeah. Well, the Australian eagle's a predator.
Yeah. I have no doubt it could eat the bald eagle. But yeah, go have a look at it on a size comparison, because they carry on about the bald eagle quite a lot, but it's actually quite a tiny bird compared to the ones here. And we don't really kind of talk about ours at all, but ours is pretty plain.
Well, it's just eagle.
Yeah.
But it is a majestic. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Umbro Demian, how much more can be added to medical gameplay to make medical profession worthwhile, being a medical doctor?
That's how do you answer that with not knowing what's coming? Like we don't know the gameplay because they haven't talked about it at extent. We've heard everything from it could be like a mini game of operation to whatever. So yeah, they could definitely add a lot to it. It's almost like any profession; they can add as much as they want.
Do you remember they originally had even the idea of the kind of handheld defibrillator? So
yeah,
but there were plans for that at one point. I think the problem is we just don't know where they're going at the moment. We've got stopgaps in to fill the void. We know we've got the drugs that can kind of do stuff and mask symptoms. We know we've got the beds that can take, but we don't know how they're going to flesh out that profession. It's going to be interesting because it's a type of profession that I could see myself getting into, because in MMOs I usually end up being the type of crowd control or the healer. So yeah, it is an interesting one. It's one I'm interested in, but I have no idea where they're headed. So,
next one, Algared, when you're ready.
Eviler and Roth. What? Evil Randy Roth. I'm not even sure I've got that name said right, but yes. Related to ship upgrades.
Eviler Andy Roth is what it is. Yeah, anyway.
Okay. Related to ship upgrades. How important do you think hangar access types will be? Will upgrading from a cutter with a self-land hangar to a BMM be a detriment by hangars in game? The hangars we get with our ships at the moment are a carryover from what they used to be. They used to sell upgraded hangars if you had upgraded ships, but they didn't stop doing that. That used to be something you buy and go in the store. They stopped it. I think it's a watch this space to see what they do.
Yeah, I also think a little bit like, how do I put this? Different hangars will do different things and be available to different things. So, for example, I don't think you'd get a capital size safe land hangar because it's a budget hangar, right? So it's kind of like an oxymoron. Where by the same thing, I don't think you'd get a particularly small hangar from, say, Revel in York, because it's really designed for those bigger luxury ships. I guess you actually know nothing about it, you probably could get a 300, a 100i one. But you get where I'm going, right? There'll be certain hangars that are tailored to certain styles of ships. I could be absolutely wrong in this. It's just speculation.
They could either do it that aspect. They could also do way they've kind of hinted at also in the past, where they talked about the closer you were to the center of town, the center, space station and the business districts, the more expensive those sites would be.
They've also talked and changed hangars too, because they've talked about having hangars as a part of your building, right?
Yeah.
So I think the scope of hangars has changed, and I think that they will come in many different styles in the future.
I think that's why we don't see them being sold anymore, but because they were changing the way it was working.
Yeah, well, you look at it in game right now. You've got an ArcCorp looking hangar, you've got a Hurston looking hangar, but they are kind of all in the style of AeroView. So I think they are kind of moving towards. I don't know. I would hope though you could still get a Revel and York hangar in Hurston or a Safeland hangar in Hurston, right? I do hope that they come around to that, but let's be honest, that's a damn low priority. It really is. Like, there's such bigger things that you can put in the game than different styles of hangar.
Well, look, if you really think of it, what is it with the different hangars? Changes the hangar. It's just the decor.
Well, again,
decor and the materials you're using for the thing. But like you said, it's low-hanging fruit. It's stuff that you can put in afterwards. The key thing is actually getting the hangars functioning and working. And doing what you want across the board.
But by the same token, how cool will eventually be when you have, and I'm just going to give an extreme example, a Revel and York hangar in Pyro, where it's all run down and broken and all that type of thing. So it tells a cool story, right? It really does. But does it add gameplay? Not really. So I would say it's, that's one of those tasks that someone will get to when they've got free time, but it's kind of like the X1. It just wasn't a right priority because you can't really do a lot with it in game right now. It's the same thing for that, but it definitely is a cool appeal factor and adds, variety is the spice of life. Being able to hire and pay more for certain hangars or pay less depending on what you're doing. So it'll come, I have no doubt, but it's just, it's always one of those questions. You ask yourself, how much work can I put in as a developer? How much more do I get out of it? And if you can do one thing that hits 16 different places of the game, that's way more effective than something that just adds a feeling. Because let's be honest, that does not change the gameplay. It just makes it feel cooler.
It adds to the immersion, I think.
Yeah.
But it doesn't add to the gameplay. And I think that's the key, isn't it? Like at the moment, we're still putting things in that really impact the gameplay. Yeah. So we don't yet have our player hangars. We don't have our own individual hangars in game where we can actually call up our ships and call up our stores and all that. We're still using generic hangars. Yeah. So I think once they start moving towards that personalized hangar, then down the track we might see the different flavors. But at the moment,
I would, you tell me this, Algared. I know we've got Revel in York, Safeland, AeroView, VFG Industrial. I would hope, given time, we get more than those as well. Like one that's
inspired. Like
one that's,
we know the system. I can't remember one where they found a hoard of, a Tavaran cache of weapons. That would have been in a Tavaran hangar.
Well, God, man, you've just opened the can of worms there. Tavaran hangar, Banu hangar, Zion hangar, and then varieties of those. What's the difference between an Apollo hangar and a Gatak hangar? And I'm making them up, obviously. But you get my point, right? So that's a really good example. As we move into the alien stuff, you would expect to see hangars outside that threshold. Can you imagine how ornate a Banu hangar is going to look? like this big round oval thing and all the organic shapes and oh my god.
What's the Bandor thing again?
Yeah, like just all spikes and blades, and you got to dodge everything to get in or whatever. Yeah.
Firefox, thank you for that first super chat on our live stream. So thank you so much. Never expected, never required, but always appreciated.
I just had a realization.
Didn't even have a question for us, so that's even like wow.
No, he says let's. Oh no, that's just a comment from YouTube.
That's the bot of the YouTube saying let's celebrate his first super on live chat, which we just did.
I've realized two things. I'm going to be in trouble with one of them. The first one is it's Australia Day today. I've just realized that. So it's our version of July 4th today. So happy Australia Day to those of you that are celebrating. I hope you go out and have a good barbecue. Have a snag for me. And secondly, it's my mum's birthday. Oh, I'm in trouble now.
That's what you're invited for.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna get into so much trouble later.
That's okay.
Right.
Well, you can, you know.
Yeah.
You can ring your mum after.
Yeah. Well, it's only 6 a.m., so I should be fine. But yeah, I'm glad I remember. So yeah. But
yes, it is Australia Day. It's Green and Gold Day. I remember a few years ago, going back to the idea of sale. I remember a few years ago, we did have a Gladius that came out that was green and gold for Australia, basically Australia Day.
Well, I was thinking about this last night. That's what's made me remind this, and I was starting to go, what would be the most Australian shipping game, right? And my brain went to, well, it'd have to be a battler, right? You know, a fighter of some description. And then I started thinking of ships that punch up. So you know where I've gone straight away when I say punch up, and it had to be a small ship, right? And I can't get any smaller than that one. Is there any other ones that you can think of? Like that would.
As much as I dislike it as a ship, the Nomad, because it's a Ute.
Oh, that would work too. No, that would work too.
The Nomad's a Ute.
Yeah, so I'll give you that one. Yep. All right. So the one I was thinking of was actually the Redeemer, but I do actually agree with the Nomad name said it. So yeah, I'd like to see an Aussie skin for both of those, please. A Redeemer and a Nomad. I reckon that'd be kind of cool.
What I'd like to see is a slouch hat.
A what?
A slouch hat.
A slouch hat? What? Oh, the.
Yep.
Yeah. I actually no. I want the corks.
Yeah, swag hat.
Yeah, that'd be funny in game. Yeah.
So, yeah.
You don't see them too much anymore these days, but yeah, they used to be.
No, you'll see the wide brimmed hats. Because the sun in Australia is bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't see the corks as much.
Yeah.
They have anti-fly device from
and I think if you want to be really generous, you could almost have like a gold and green one, and then like a green and gold. You know what I mean? So they could essentially just invert the colors and do that for the Nomad and the Redeemer. I reckon that'd be hopefully pretty popular. Because we don't have a lot of yellow skins.
No.
Well, we have a lot of green for the St. Patrick's Day and the Ghoul, but we don't have yellow.
F8C luxury version, kind of a gold.
Yes. Sign of things to come, I hope, when they get back to doing interiors.
Gold kind of picked up that yellowy hue, but yeah, there's not too many.
I would say it is actually called green and gold too, isn't it? So you could actually do. I know they do it as a bit yellow, but it's actually kind of cool to have it as a green and actual gold. It would look actually kind of cool. Yeah. Right. Aquila says, is the Apollo reliant on drones to release? Algared, I'll let you take that one.
I don't think so. Would the drones be useful? Yes, 100%. Would they increase its gameplay? 100%. But because the Apollo will rely on the med beds, no, it's not, because the med beds are already working in game. So, yeah. Question.
Sorry. I'm replying to Lemming, who said, he's replying, so what's the most Australian shipping game? And he said Buccaneer. And I said, what are you implying? Yeah.
Saying we're all pirates, but that's not true.
That's not true. So we're convicts. That's completely different. Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be more, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was going to say America. Yeah. Interestingly, people say we're all convicts, but interestingly, did you know but in terms of a number of convicts that were sent to Australia, a bit of history lesson for you guys, as many were sent to America. So the colonies in America actually had convicts sent to them.
Maybe that's why we get on so well. Maybe maybe that's why we get on so well with our American counterparts. I think so.
I think, admittedly, the convicts sent to America were over a longer period, but the same number have been sent. And one of the reasons that have been given in the past for the settlement of Australia was because the colonies in America had been lost, and so they needed to rebuild their prestige, but they also needed to rebuild the market, and they also wanted somewhere to stand there.
I also think the other part of it, Algared, was gold. Like the sheer number of people that went and just stole a loaf of bread so they got sent, did 7 years and then they could hopefully get rich. And there were people that did that and they did find gold and they did get rich.
That's not necessarily for the settlement of Australia. Settlers may have come afterwards.
But a lot of people got themselves sent to Australia via crime because they couldn't afford to come to Australia that way. So they would deliberately perform a crime. So they would get sent here, do 7 years of labour, and then go out and be free.
I would have to check that. That's not a.
My mum was a history teacher too. So you forget that, but yeah, both that and in high school, I still remember that. So it wasn't super common, but you can go actually see that it was a definite increase in crime in retaliation to when the gold rush started. So yeah.
Oh well, that may be the case. But the gold rushes were fairly late.
They were.
In terms of the history.
But there was no gold rush for, say, the United States, as an example. Is my point.
No, they have their plantation, the tobacco, which was and cotton and stuff, which were equally as.
Piss Poor Pete says it's a free cruise. Pete, can you read the question I asked you before, or message me on Discord? I asked you a question, and I swear you didn't reply to me, you rude bastard. No, he didn't reply to me. Yeah, I asked you a question earlier. I asked Pete, can you fill in for Algared next week? Yeah, because Algared's got to go do stuff, so I need a guest.
May or may not be around. I'll have to double check when I'm leaving for Canberra because I'm going down on the. No,
it's too late now. Piss Poor Pete's filling in for you. I've already asked him. It's too late now. He kicked off.
At the beginning as well.
No, I don't need you. Go away. No, I'm just kidding. You can be here. I'm not going to do that to you. Right.
See what he does. He used to me. See what I have to put on.
Someone's got to put you in your place.
And he's worse off camera. Worse off camera.
Here we go. All right. How do you like the new ISC SC live schedule? There was a schedule? I didn't see a schedule. Did you see a schedule?
Yeah, I think that was the one time they're doing more.
Let's have a look. I've still got it open here. There's nothing there.
I think it's the idea. Well, the new schedule is that we don't have it yet.
Or does he just mean that they're doing more stuff?
But I think it's the idea they're adding more stuff.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Depends. If it's
leave it when we see it.
Now, then it's no good.
Yeah.
But as I said, I think it's part of that ramping up as they come close to the release of Squadron. So yeah. Ray, that was by Hook 2005, by the way.
Yeah.
Ray asks, do you know if they mention if capital ships will be able to be stopped by one Mantis Qantas Rampener, or whether it will take 3 or 4 of them? It would suck if an Endeavour or an Orion can't escape. I do believe they did talk about a size-related thing.
I pity the fool who is in a Mantis that tries to stop an Endeavour. That's all I'm going to say.
So we've had a minor impact on the front hull.
Yeah.
Asteroid.
Let me just turn on the windscreen wiper and get rid of that bug. And Mantis is gone.
The insect, literally the insect just got swiped.
Yeah, I think Algared was right though. His memory kind of lines up with mine. It was set on a size thing, so I'd be more likely to think that you would need bigger QED to stop bigger drives. But I could be wrong on that, but I would go double check. I'm sure. Actually, I'll put that out to Ash and Lemming, who are both in Twitch chat. Can you actually have a quick look for me, boys, and see if you can find anything on that, or if you can remember from your own memories? That's how I remember it though too. It was based on size, but it has been a hot minute since you and I looked at QED, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. But I can remember when the EMPs first came in. EMPs were knocking out everything.
Yep.
But one of the guys hit my 890 with an EMP.
Yeah.
And all happened is the 890 went flicker, 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 and just kept going.
Yeah.
So
that could be the other thing. Could you stack it? So imagine if you send in 3 warlocks on that 890 jump, would it then take it out? Right? And that I have no problem with, because you have to work as a team. You have to combine and coordinate, and that makes it interesting, because again, gives player choice.
And that comes into the question of would it work? And we know they're already talking about stacking of things with the SRVs and the towing. But we know they've kind of talked tractor beams could do that. Why wouldn't an EMP or a dampener work in that aspect?
Yeah.
But how do you? Is it you've got to overlap them so it's stronger, or have you got to do a wider coverage? So, yeah, I think it would depend on the situation. I'd hope if 3 or 4 Mantis could shut down Endeavour's quantum jump, that it would be a matter of those Mantis needing to work really closely together to get that web really strong.
Really quick question though, we've now advertised that we're moving the show.
Yep.
If you're not going to be here next week, why do I need to move the show until the following week?
Let me just check when I'm leaving.
Yeah, because like I'm just talking to Pete on Discord, and I'm realizing, well, we could just make it this time next week because you're not going to be here. So what does it matter?
Like, while I am going to America, going to Canberra. Yes, Canberra does feel like a foreign country for those who are wondering. I'm going to
all the diplomats.
Yeah, I'm going to Canberra on Saturday for the Bar Citizen, which is in the evening. I'm arriving at 5:30. I'll probably will be here because I'm leaving in mid-morning. So just means I certainly will be saying at 8 o'clock, no, I'm gone. We're out of here.
Yeah. So do you want to do it on the Friday or on the Saturday?
No, we'll do it on the Saturday. I can't do it on Friday. I'm working.
All right.
You could do 2 streams.
So it'd be tomorrow. So tomorrow this time, but next week. There you go. Right.
So we'll be a 3-man show. That'll be different.
Okay, it just says, so Ash went and checked it up. It just says within 20 kilometers range of the ship. Nothing about the size of the ship. It can be captured. It can capture. So yeah, it sounds like it's up in the air at the moment in regards to the QED. Right, next one, Algared.
Good question, Ray. Okay, the next one is by Smoke Cloud 8. Which RAM 2x24 or AMD build is best for clusters? The old 30s 100 MTS.
So I find RAM speed is way more important than RAM amount. I have a CAS latency of 14 on my RAM, and I paid a lot extra to get it. I think here in Australia at the time you could get 32 gigabytes of RAM for around $300, and I spent 600. I spent pretty much double, but I will take the speed any day of the week over the quantity. You do not need, like, you've seen what I can do on this. Like I can stream to you guys, I can play the game, and I'm doing that all on 32, right? And you get other content developers that swear on the amount, and I don't think it's got anything to do with the amount. I think it's got to do with the speed.
For ages, it used to be the amount was what counted, but these days it is definitely speed.
Not for a long time. I'm gonna be honest. Like I remember when I upgraded from 8 gigabyte of RAM to 16, and or even I think it was from 4 to 8 or something like that. And I remember when I doubled it, and this guy said, "Now try this stick of RAM." And tell me, like, he was trying to convince me to buy the more expensive one. So he told me to take both of them home, and I tried them. And I brought the more expensive one because at the time it was in Battlefield 2. And what I was doing a loop, right? Just like flying the plane in a loop. And when the plane came around, the speed was able to load the stuff where it came around, and there was no jitter. When I put the other one in, there was like a for just like half a second. But it told me straight away that speed was really important, and I've gone for speed ever since.
Well, I'm going back. When I say that, I was going back to like the early 80s. You know, back in the day, the amount of RAM you had was what counted. But these days, once you've got a certain amount, it's a speed.
I'd say we're quickly going from, like, I think a lot of the older computers now got 16. I'd say 32 is very quickly becoming the standard. So a lot of content creators feel they need to be ahead of the curve, and I think you can quite easily get away with 32. But yeah, again, he's got 2 times 24. That's a really weird combo. Because usually you're at 16 or 32, not 2 times 24. That's a weird one for me. I'd have to actually go look at the motherboard and the stuff again. I haven't looked into the RAM and that too much. One thing I will tell you, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this.
5 says that's DDR5.
Yeah, DDR5. So what I'm gonna say is, this is gonna be a really unpopular opinion, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I used to run and own an internet cafe for a few years, and I had this massive issue with the RAM in the PCs, and it took me 2.5 months to figure out what it was. It delayed the opening of the shop for 2.5 months because I couldn't figure out what it was. And it turned out I eventually got some help from a local computer store, and he was telling me it was the RAM. And he goes, I go, what's wrong? Like, I knew it was the RAM, I just didn't know what was wrong with it. And it turns out it was just the brand. He goes, and he gave me some sticks to take back and try as well. And instantly, as soon as I put this different brand of RAM in, it started working. Now, what would probably surprise a lot of people is the brand that was scuffed, that was broken and had all the errors, was Corsair. I no longer buy Corsair. I've seen this issue come up in multiple builds now that I built for other people. And I once had a friend that worked for Commonwealth Bank in WA, over where Sam Groper lives. It wasn't Sam Groper, it was another guy. And he was a Star System guy, by the way, the guy I'm talking about. And he had a more expensive computer than me by several $1,000s, but he used to get really annoyed because my computer would load faster than his. And so, basically, I told him to go out and buy another brand of RAM, and he did. And then his computer started loading faster than mine. And he was I was a Corsair fanboy before that, and he was a Corsair fanboy before that. But if you think about it, how often do you have 2 products that you can put side by side with each other and actively compare? Right? And RAM's one of those things. You have to see it to believe it, right? So who's going to go out and buy 2 sticks of RAM or 2 sets of RAM now and put them side by side and then use the better one? Not many people would do that, right? So there's no chance for you to actively compare Corsair to whatever. And then if you look at the influencers online, they're paid to tell people things are great, right? So yeah. So by the way, the timings were the same. They were exactly the same. It was just the brand that changed. And there was some really weird errors. The one I remember that was really weird, just how weird it got. There was one particular computer, and you could change the RAM between the computers, by the way, and it would still have this error. The game would crash in League of Legends after 2 minutes, almost on the dot every single time, and only on that PC, and only in League of Legends. It was so weird. And I would re-image these computers, and it would still do it. It was so weird, and it was only on that PC. And then there was other ones where you could take the RAM stick and move from computer to computer, and the error would go with the RAM stick. So it was clearly the RAM sticks that had the problem. Yeah, it just went on, and it took me 2.5 months to get them all. And I didn't get all of them in the end. And the company that was kind of returning them and replacing them, it just went on. It was just a pain in the ass. They wanted me to do every single stick individually, and yeah, it was just, the return process was a nightmare. But long story short, don't buy Corsair. In my book, I like Gel and Kingston. They're the 2 that I tend to go for. But hey, you guys might have different experiences. It's also the same reason why I don't buy Seagate. I've had a lot of problems with Seagate drives just being DOA on arrival. But yeah, I think all hardware people will tell you stories like that, Algared. I know people that prefer certain motherboards over others, but yeah, we all have different experiences. Anyway, I've gone on too long.
Oh, I think you're right. And it also depends on I think it sometimes depends on the quality, like I know with Kingston drives, depending on whether you get the red, the green, the gold, whatever, or black, whatever. I can't remember.
Drives, I always go Samsung.
Better than others in terms of their quality and stuff.
With the NVMe now, I always go Samsung. They did have a bung one recently in some of the 990 Pros that went bung, but they've since fixed that issue. So yeah, but generally that's the first bad drive they've had in years. They got a bit complacent, I think.
For more detailed help on that type of question, you need to go to our Discord channel and our, I believe it's the hardware.
I think they called it Tech Talk. Lemming will tell us what it's called.
Yeah, that's right, Tech Talk.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a Tech Talk one down there.
Go to the Tech Talk text chat, and you will get help there. There will be people who love that stuff and lap it up.
I think I'm just going to wrap this up with one simple thing. I think we are all very pissed at Nvidia right now, and I'll leave it at that. Those new supercards dropped, Algared. I was thinking like a mere 5 years ago, those cards were like $300 to $400 Australian dollars. They're now like up to the range of like 1,200 minimum. You know, they've tripled in value. So, as an American type person, for some bizarre reason, if you do a currency conversion to something in Australia, it's probably 30% more, or it should be 30% more, right? But for some reason here in Australia, if you have a $500 product, I guarantee it'll cost $1,000 here. It shouldn't, but it does, right? And so, for how horrific the cards look for you, you can only imagine when you double the price how quickly absorbently that has grown. And the example I talked about there, they went from about $400 to $500. Now they're up to like minimum of $1,200 in just a really small, short span of time. And you know, the last graphics card I got was $2,000, where previously that would have been around about $1,000, right? And I did buy it during peak COVID, right? But now the next ones, the rumors of the 48s that are about to come out in a couple of weeks' time, the rumors are they're $1,400 American. That means that'll be a $3,000 card, Algared. That is bananas.
That's the price of a computer.
Yeah, well, that's the price of what the 3090s were. Right? That's crazy. And that, yeah, you go back 5-10 years ago, that was the entire computer, not just the graphics card. So yeah, and by the way, just so you guys know, Nvidia basically roughly makes 60% profit on their cards. That is a really high markup. Most companies make 30%.
Yep.
These guys are making 60. So they are taking us all to the cleaners. You can go back and look at all the things like the crypto and all that, and the you know, the inflation and all that. You can guarantee you that they are going even more with that. So to give you another example of what they're doing, they're also trying to put stuff into China, even though it's been banned, because every card they get in there, because they know that they're so hard to get in there, it's a supply and demand issue. They are making so much money because people just can't get the cards there anymore. So yeah, it's just, again, supply and demand. And they're using it because, like, if they can put a card into China and they get it in there, they'll get 2,000% profit. Bang. You know, so yeah, Nvidia, and also Nvidia are also going into the AI stuff. So, you know, I think I don't like greed. I'm not a big fan of greed. You'll find that. But anyway. All right, next one. I've talked about the death. Sorry, Algared.
You do too. Do you think there will be org-based land claims?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, why not? Why couldn't you do an org-based one?
Oh, I know when land claims first came out, people in our org talked about taking our land claims and putting them down and building it. An org settlement. What's the difference in that? It's the ownership of the land claim. And initially they're personal, but down the track, I could see an org buys it and does it. How you transfer it across to the org itself rather than an individual might be problematic, but
they did talk about org hangers back in the day, so I can't see why you wouldn't have org bases and stuff.
Yeah, and when you look at original Million Mile High Club type facility, people were looking at using that as an org facility, and that was one of the things that was given kind of a thumbs up. This year, you can use it for that. So, but how they're going to do that, we don't know yet. I think would be the best way of it, the simplest approach to that question. It sounds good. We don't know how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Blue Rage 77. do think that the Cutlass series will get a bathroom. I do believe I heard talk about that. I can't remember where.
Doesn't one of them already have a bathroom? The Cutlass Red.
No.
It's got a toilet. So you lose the turret in the red, and you get a shower toilet combo.
I have to go back and read.
Yeah, it's already in. You already have a shower toilet combo in the red.
I know they talked about putting one back in the black. That's kind of a something, or at least using it the lack of one to explain something. But yeah.
Look, I think I can do a kind of general claim here. All ships are going to get this passover, right? There's going to be things that change across the board in all ships, because every ship you see that come in that becomes that new gold standard. Look at the Crusader Spirit that just came in. Look at all the bells and whistles that thing on it. That, you know, I remember when the MSR came in, and it was the first one to have lights. You know, and now they all have lights.
Yeah, now you start. Yeah,
the next ones that come in, I mean, have lights. Not all of them.
Yeah.
So whatever that final one is that come in, you'll see that, and they'll go back and add all those features back to the others, and they'll find that what's another one? When they put in the Redeemer and the Reliant Tanner, they found that combat ships did need a small amount of cargo. You know, so you're going to find that ships will grow, some other ships that will change. Some things may even go the other way, where they're cut out grid. Could you see something being lost or something to be gained? Because I can. So
well, I know certainly with fighters, they talked about the need to give them a small storage compartment for,
like the Gladius. Yes.
And
yeah.
You know, they're not just cargo space, but actually storage space for your stuff. So.
And the other one, just going real quick, was the fuel ports they've started to add. Like it appeared on the Saulian. We saw it appear on the Santokiai. They weren't on other ships previously, so that's a newer step again. Again, you're going to start to see every time there's a newer thing appear, eventually it'll go back and be added to everything else. But if they find a much older ship, like obviously the older a ship is, the more likely it's going to get these sweeping changes. But if they, you know, look at a ship and go, yeah, this ship really needs a toilet, because maybe back then toilets weren't a thing, they'll add the toilet, right? You know, like Algared and I have even talked about the Carrack a few times, like how that pad really needs to be metrics for the snub, because it'd be really great for be able to fit other ships in there. But by the secondary account, so some of and the reason I'm picking this ship is because they may go one way, they may not. But if you went back and added a snub-sized hangar to that ship that was to metrics, how much would the Carrack grow? How much extra work is required for that? And then, or do they leave it bespoke and just move on? But then 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, when they decide to do a new version of the Carrack, does it then become to metrics? They're questions they're going to have to ask themselves, and I think that you'll find some things get upgraded now, and again, being a kind of like a forever game, they'll eventually get round to doing everything. It's just
I think
priorities.
We'll see updated now.
Yeah,
and some things we'll see don't get updated, but we see them on the next generation of that ship. But yeah, I could do that.
Okay, I take that back. JC Kakaboom TV says the first ship with the light ship was the Terrapin. Yes, you are correct, but you get my point, right? It had those panels, not light switch, the panel. You know, where the open on the outside. Not light switch, but I called it a light switch, but I meant the panels.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little screens.
We see them move across to the way they're doing the. I think Anyway, Chris has a question.
Yep.
Is just a little spicy today, as per your stream title. Well, it could be the heat. Today is going to be 40 degrees, at least where I am. So that's pretty hot. That's 100 Fahrenheit.
Okay, so I struggled with this. I was going to call it I Come From a Land Down Under, because it was Australia Day. And then I'd already had a thumbnail made, and I was watching a Moist Noodle stream, and he goes, I like it a little bit spicy. So I just went with that. So I stole it from Moist, if you would like to know where I got it from.
Moist Noodle's fault.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you've been paying attention, I know I've referenced things being spicy today a couple of times. So is X. It's a drinking game today. Yeah. Every time one of us mentions spicy, you take a drink.
Yeah.
So there you go. But yeah. Excuse reason is the actual one.
All right.
Make up a reason you want.
So this next person goes, you have 2 friends as a group of 3. What activity is the most to be found in game, in your opinion, right now? I reckon watching this streamer called Piss Poor Pete with his 2 friends is pretty fun. No, so that was by Piss Poor Pete. Algared, what would you recommend as an activity that you do with 3 mates? I would say bounty hunting in the Redeemer would be mine.
I could see people would, that's one activity you could do. I think any activity the 3 of you like.
Well, the question is, what activity is the most fun to be found in game? And I think you are right. I think it depends on the people you're playing with, because you'll get people that just absolutely love mining. You get the people that like absolutely love salvage. It's the people you play with. I don't think it's the activity. I think it's the fun. The people you're playing with is where the fun is at. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I know there are people who love a combat and would go out and do the combat or do the piracy or do this, you know. I had a hoot doing the salvage when picked up the gear and sold it. That was just fun, just playing with 2 other people, just to enable us to take all the cargo.
Yeah, when we were going out and disrupting ships and taking them down and then taking all the contents out of it, it was fun too. So I think that's the thing. Like, as the game goes on, we're getting more variety, aren't we? There's no one. Why would you lock yourself to the one? But for me, it's always the people I'm doing it with. At the end of the day, it's not the activity; it's the fun I'm having with my mates.
Yeah, so, I think poor Pete is really hoping for a Zathras answer.
I don't know if I was gun held to the flame, gun held to my head. Sorry. I don't know. I don't think we're really there yet. I don't think there's any that really stands shoulders above everything else. Like salvage is kind of the new hotness, and that's fun right now. But again, we know mining's going to improve. We know combat's going to improve. So, ask me that again, question in 12 months, because I think your answer would change too, Pete. Right now it's one thing, but like with all the changes coming this year, it's going to be we could be doing base building by the end of the year.
It's going to be spicy.
Just a little bit spicy. Yeah.
Just for playing our drinking game, it's 4 shots you've got to take now.
Spicy. Oh, there we go. Yeah, spicy floor. Yeah, there we go.
That's right. I think I can clearly see there's gameplay at the moment that people enjoy, but I also think that it depends on who you're with and what you're doing. And there have been times I've been out and done salvage and it's been boring, but when I've been with other people, it's been fun. Same with mining. Same with PvP stuff.
I think if you look at it right now, salvage is a bit more fun than mining, purely because the multiplayer mining is just not there. Because a lot of the time it's like you need them to crack the rock, but after the rock's cracked, the other 2 people are kind of just sitting there waiting for going through the motions type of thing. So again, I think as time goes by, everything will get fixed, improved. But for me, I think I could probably knock it down to salvage and bunker runs can be a bit fun, but I've also done bunker runs where someone goes in and just wipes everything out before everyone else gets there. So with the Redeemer, it's a bit harder to do that. So I think bounty hunting and salvage for me would be the 2, and that's just because we're very limited right now.
I think if it's gameplay with you and 2 mates, so the 3 of you, having one person race ahead to the bunker and wipe it out, that might be fun for them, but it's not fun for the other 2 people.
Well, it's not just
you really
that.
want to do the activity together.
Yeah, but it can also be the random spawning locations of the NPCs. Like one person gets all of them, and the other guys don't.
Yep.
So,
yeah. So sometimes, so even that can be fun or not at times. So Rusty Pigeon Gaming has a question. When do you guys think the price increase of the ships will start? That last week was a test, right?
So I still think it was a test, and it's them looking at the prices as they move into working on Star Citizen. It could never eventuate if that's what they want. But again, if they're looking at them and they forgot to take them out, which is what we think they did, it could be coming this year. But again, that's just if it was just a test bed, things could change, go up, down, whatever. The only reason we brought it up was because it was in there, and it looks like that's what they've been saying for years. Get ready,
and whether they do it or not, is another thing. You've got to remember PTU
Mm.
and the Avocado PTU and the experimental PTU, all of those, anything that's PTU is a test.
Yep.
And it's stuff that may or may not end up being in game.
Yeah.
So you could be in PTU doing something you think is absolutely awesome, but it doesn't make it in game because it ends up being more problematic down the track or something. So
yeah.
And they're saying, by the way, that the spicy only counts as one.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Right. Grim's just saying on Twitch, I'm very interested to see what the flight ready price of the Idris will be. I think it will tell us about the price trajectory. Hull C, other great example. I don't think it. I think we've already got examples of that. Any ship that the Hull C is a good example, as you state, but there were ones before that me and Algared saw as well. And yeah, as I said, it was speculation for a long time, but it's very much coming to pass. I think we've got enough evidence of that.
Prices increase.
Yeah.
How much and when?
Yeah. And I again, just like looking at, I keep going back to the Reclaimer because that was the first example where we had with the Vulture and the Reclaimer, and then we had in-game prices of the Reclaimer in that price list thing, and it just, so you can start to hook things up, like we were saying about people. We've been saying for this a couple of moving parts to why we recommend, go big and earn down. But once you realize that a big ship can, might be 10 times more expensive, where a medium ship's only 5 times more expensive, you start to realize, and look at a Vulture, right? You've got 2.5 Vultures currently right now in real world dollars equals a Reclaimer. But if a Reclaimer goes up 10 or 5 to 10 times in value and the Vulture stays the same, you start to realize why we've been saying this for so long. So I don't know. We'll see how it lands out. And they are only rough numbers that Chris gave years and years ago now. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We've been hated on for the longest time, like especially with the the engineering stuff that came in the last 6 months. People there was a lot of people that were like, oh yeah, the ship's just gonna be so hard to use now. Why would you want so many people? I was the other way, and I know you were too, weren't you? Because it's like working together is the funnest part of playing games. I love it's working together.
In a sense, it's why you want a big ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to need to have, you're going to want to have your mates.
Yeah.
You can't have your mates with you in a fighter.
Yeah. It's a bit different if the ship's got a full raid party, 25 people on it. But here, I'll put this to you, Algared, and this is the example that I'm thinking of from the time, was the Arista versus the Orion. Now, really, is there much difference between 5 to 8 people? Right, really, you really put that on paper and look at the number, because I think it's 5 for the Arista, but it's 5 to 8 for the Orion, right? So you look at that on paper and you go, how much more extra benefit do I get from those 2 to 3 people? But the ship is 6 times the size. So the more you do the math, 2 people extra to deal with, but you're getting 6 times as much ship. How much does that mean? I'm getting 6 times as much ore or whatever I'm collecting. You start to do the math pretty quickly. So it's saying the bigger you go, the more it ramps up, right? It's a bit different if it's like a Javelin with 80 people versus a Polaris with 10 to 20, right? You can start to go, oh, that's asking a bigger slice of the pie. But if you're really talking 2 people, I can't not justify that.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. They were talking about the drinking game, and but yeah. Certainly the crew size. You look at a 3 to 8 crew size, or 5 to 8 crew size, and go, yeah. Question is, how much more am I going to be able to fill those? Are those positions absolutely essential? Am I going to be able to fill them with other stuff?
Yeah.
And I think there'll be stuff. Yeah, I might not be able to man a turret, or I might have to run from mining turret to a defense turret, or I might have to double up as the engineer. But you see people do that in games like Pulsar or Sea of Thieves, or where they don't necessarily have a full crew, but people are doubling up because that's what's needed.
Grim, are you still there? STAR-JM Grim, are you still there? I'll just see if he's there. I've just had an idea. I'm going to pitch it to him live. Grim, if you want to drop in Discord, and I'll ask you it live, because then I can put you on the spot and you can't say no. No. But drop in if you want. I've just had an idea. It might be kind of a cool thing. So what I was thinking about was Grim recently. I'll see if I can find it actually. He did a kind of cool video where he did let's have a look at Star Jump. And it might be cool if we do this as a group, so we could pull in Ender, Starlet, yourself, maybe even Paul as well, and Grim. So what he did, I've got to flip this over. Right, so this is just what he's done. So he's got this, he's done a reconcept of the Orion Algared. So what would it look like if it was kind of brought up to modern RSI stylings and stuff like that? So my thought process is, what if we go one step further than that? And as a group, we speculate, what could an Anvil capital ship be? And then make it. What do you think?
Yeah, it would be interesting.
Would you guys be interested in that? And then we can do it. We will just release it on STAR-JM's channel, and then yeah, do it. It's a lot of work for Grim. I've just chucked a lot of work at him. He's humming on the Twitch there, but yeah, that could be kind of interesting. I don't know, just a thought. Yeah, maybe just for a bit of fun, Grim. But yeah, it is a lot of extra work because then Grim would have to make it from scratch, obviously. Maybe just a grey box then. Yeah, just a thought. Anyway, so yeah, nice little video there from Grim anyway, if you want to kind of see his thoughts on an updated Orion. I think it's kind of pretty cool, actually. What do you think, Algared?
Which was that about this Orion?
Yeah, about this the Orion, what he's done here.
I like it.
Yeah, it's different. So yeah.
Next question.
Yep.
Will the carrot? This is by Grim Rank, and Grim Rank says, will the carrot prices go up when modularity comes online? And my thought process is no.
Yeah, I kind of tend to think the same with a lot of the modular ships. I don't think the ship will go up in price because they'll have modules to sell. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll bring out the modules and they'll sell the module.
Yeah.
The module. And so adding a science module to a carrack will increase the carrot cost because the module is increasing, is there, but you got to buy.
Yeah, and again, I think certain ships you'd possibly want to pick them up on, and others, like if the modules are $40 a pop, not worth it. But if the module's $250, then it starts to get into that. You just treat them like what we've told you about fighters and ships, right? And it was like the video we did on the weekend. It's like the Endeavor modules have the potential to be 10 times worth they are, because if the Endeavor becomes a capital, like a really big capital, they obviously can go up 10 times in value. But then it's only really those two modules that would really be affected, which was the biopod and the super collider. So it does make it a hard gray area, but we wanted to talk about it because it is going to become a thing.
But as we've always said, you know, like you set that kind of, what's the line in the sand for buying game versus buy now type, and I think that's where you've got to work out for yourself.
Yeah.
If I'm being realistic, I try to say, well, for me, the line in the sand always sat around 250.
Yeah.
When we were doing,
but then it's now being grayed because you got like fighters versus multi-crew. So we just want to be able to go like this and like draw a line for you guys and go, but you can't because of the way they've done it. Yeah.
And we used to say 200, you know, and I kind of crept it up to 250 just because of that differences and stuff. So it's not a hard and fast line, but it's where you go, okay, this is going to be cheap enough to buy in game.
Let's give a real simple example. The Raelian versus, say, the Defender, same price right now.
Yeah.
But I would be recommending the Raelian over the Defender at that price.
Because you get more gameplay.
And that's under 250. You see what I mean? So it really comes down to multi-crew versus single seat or fighter and things like that. It's the role versus the thing. And one of the reasons why the combat ships are just so much more expensive right now is they have their gameplay right now. If you have a ship that doesn't have the gameplay, it's cheaper. It's just that simple.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So I think I could see the carrot prices going up if they were selling them with the module. So doing, like a bit like the Endeavour Hope, the Endeavour Discovery, the Endeavour Olympic. If they were doing that, I could see them do it. The price is changing in that regard. But yeah, I don't think price of the Carrack or even the Caterpillar or Retaliator should go up with modules. The modules may go up, and different modules may come out, but it shouldn't change the base price.
I've just kind of realised, and going back to what Grim was saying about the Idris becoming in-game ready as a sign of things to come, I actually think the one we'll get before that is the Polaris. Because the Polaris will go in probably before the Idris, and again, I'm expecting that to go up quite significantly because it's combat ready. So, yeah.
So, what price do you think it'd end up being?
I think you and I have talked $100 for a long time, but I'd have to say I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go up 200. At that price point where we're at, think about, generally it's 10 to 15%, right? So let's crack out the calculator. I'm just going to do that, right? So what is 10? Well, it's $75, right? At $750, but at 15%, that would, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it is about 100 at that price point. So yeah, my whole point being is, yeah, we've speculated that for a while, but it could be more because it's combat as well.
And you'd put your pricing. It'd have to be below an Idris.
Yep.
Because it's a non-capital ship.
I think it would have to be below 1,000.
And that kind of puts it at below 1,000.
Yeah.
And if it is over 1,000, it's like just crossing that mark. And I think if I decided to make 1,000, it'd really only be to apply an LTI.
How much is the Pioneer right now? 850.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think it would be put it in its ballpark.
Yeah, so I think it's 850 for a Pioneer, 950, 950 for an 890 jump, I think.
Yeah. So it'd be really cool if it was like 825, and eventually they release a CCU from the Polaris to the Pioneer. But I think that we might find out about that this year as well. Like, do they?
I think live in hope.
Yeah.
And Arthur Vanderlei, thank you so much for the $8. Really appreciated.
Every week, man. He's been there every week for like months now too. Thank you, Arthur.
I cannot say it enough how much it's appreciated. Never expected, never required, but definitely always appreciated. Always humbling, to be honest. Blows my mind. So yeah.
Yeah.
That one done. Astro Dodge. There's future price predictions for the Zeus variants. Add 20%.
Yeah, or add 10 to 15%. Yeah.
Add 15, yeah, and then
there are outliers to that, obviously. Like we saw when the Vulture came out, that went up by $35, but they're few and far between. They're few and far. It's generally
when the Hull C came out, that went up a lot more than we expect.
But that was also a lot older of a ship as well,
wasn't it? We considered that an outlier.
It is an outlier, but it was mainly because it was of its age.
Yeah. But yeah, it went up even more than we thought. So,
well, you got a Javelin at what's it now? 1450 for not Javelin, so the Idris. Idris is 1450, yeah, off the top of your head.
1450.
Yeah, so you're looking at about $140 increase. So that'll go to what, $1,600, which is ironically not far off the price of the Kraken right now. Yeah.
And then I expect, I expect when the Kraken comes out, it'll go up in price as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Idris is definitely the advantage to owning an Idris is the fact that it's in Squadron. It's going to be really polished, and they're going to want that thing to work really, really well. So
yeah, I think if the I get the impression if the Gladius is the kind of a workhorse that they're doing for Squadron 42 in terms of making it.
Same thing for the Idris. Yeah.
The Idris is going to be that for the capital ships.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the leaked walkthrough recently, but the thing felt so damn empty. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you've got to remember, CIG said they added 90 crew to the Idris, 90 NPCs to the Idris for Squadron. So it didn't feel empty, and it still felt empty.
Yeah.
So, yeah, imagine what a Javelin's going to be like. Hello.
So just to let you guys know, we've got about 55 minutes left, and I think we're down to like 10 questions, so we're probably going to be ending early today, but that's fine. I've got no problem with that. Right, Luna Maria says, has there been so much as a peep about the Apollo since it was shown at ISC? No. But again, they've been on holidays, like...
Yeah.
That's why I haven't heard anything. There hasn't been a peep about anything since, like, Christmas. And it's always the way. It's always the... It's always... Yeah, it's always the quietest time because CIG really aren't working. Well, they've only, they're all doing those meetings in January. And then, February kind of hits and we get a flurry of their plans.
Meetings, fixing all the bugs that they find during the break when everyone's just playing.
Yeah, so you'll hear stuff now once the meetings are over. Like they'll start talking about their plans for the year, and it was the same thing last year. Like we heard, oh, we're planning to do this, we're planning to do that. I don't know if you guys remember at the start of the year they were around March and February they were talking about doing bounty hunting and the data heist and all that, but it just never eventuated because other things happened. But I reckon you'll see them this year. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Patrick S says I'm always amazed by these shutdowns. It's not a shutdown; it's just a quiet time that we don't see. I'm sure there's work going on behind the scenes. It's just managerial and plans and what did we do last year. It's kind of that review, that annual review of looking what we did and where they're going and where they think they'll go in retrospect.
Luna Maria is saying there's monthly reports come out, but you'll find that they combine November and December together because they didn't really do a lot in December because they went on break. And then when January ones come out, it'll just be them. It'll come out in February and it'll then be talking about all the meetings they had as they're starting to get back to work. So yeah, they're nothing but
you do have a look. The monthly report is November, December.
Yeah,
and that's always been the case, basically for the reasons you said. So yeah. John Ski has a question. Didn't the last CitizenCon bundle of event goodies? Sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't the last bundle of CitizenCon event goodies you could buy include some kind of special medical case, EMT case?
I think there might have been something you could put on the
ground. I can't remember.
I'll have a quick look. I'll go into my account now.
I know I've got it, but I can tell you. Yeah. It's so much junk in my hangar. It's what is that thing? Your hangar's looking as junky as mine.
There's a lot of shit because of the Amalia thing, whatever it's called. So I'm 3 pages in and I haven't even got past AIE.
Yep. And you get the AIE skins and also throw the
6 pages in. Here we go. We're starting to get to the Storm, the Solian. 7 pages in. There's the helmets from Day of the Vara.
You need to go 100 items a page. That makes it easier.
Yeah, I really should, but then I'm going to lose my notes. Here we go. This is what we're looking for. Okay. How many pages? 8 pages in. Digital goodies pack. Let's pull this up and I'll put it on the screen.
Yep.
All right, so we've got Frontier undersuit, Frontier helmet, trophy, dead rig shotgun, headhunter gang relic collectible, pyrotechnic, Amalia multi-tool, and case. I think that's probably what you might be talking about, because the others are redacted ship plussy, redacted ship challenge coin, and dragonfly. So they would be Zeus. So that's the only one that would fall into it. It says multi-tool though. It doesn't say anything about medical stuff. So.
Although I do recall seeing something that was seemed to be like that, but yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I remember seeing a concept image or something where it was something that went on the ground and then they had like 4 med peds in it. That's what I remember seeing. So
But yeah, whether that was just them showing something or whether it was something that was included in something, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Good question. Sorry, I didn't have an answer.
Yeah. All right. What's the next one?
Luke
Luke
5
5.
says, with the sneak peek of new cave system and its creepy appearance, do you think a predator will live inside that will try to eat us? Yes. You know those little bugs that you're finding at the moment? I think they're the hatchlings or the seeds or the babies of the big nasty crabby thing. Kind of get you. So yeah, I have no doubt we're going to find critters in.
You're
eaters.
breaking up a little bit, just so you're aware.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Next question. LA32344 says, question: what do you all think about the next consolidated Outland ship could be? I'll let you take that one out.
I'll let you answer this because I hate Silas, so I don't care.
Algared and I have talked about this a few times. They obviously fall into the kind of Tesla kind of mantra. That's probably why Algared doesn't like Silas as much. But look at what Elon's done. You know, he's done everything from flamethrowers, borings, spaceships, electric cars. So they're a bit of an everything company. So I would expect them to be no different. And if you look at the three ships they've kind of got right now, we've got a Mustang, we've got a Nomad, and we've got the gigantic Pioneer. But they are far, you know, they're pitching themselves almost as an everyman, aren't they, Algared? In a way,
That's
you know.
what I do.
Yeah,
they're almost a rival to RSI.
Yeah, and kind of like wanting to help everyone as much as possible. Kind of like putting on the good guy persona, but still taking all the cash. So, you know, they will go kind of where they're needed, when they're needed, and a ship that'll help. So I could see them doing everything from a repair ship to a mining ship to whatever is kind of required. They are, you correct me if you think I'm wrong, Algared, because we don't really know their style thing because they haven't really done it. But I do see them as the jack of all trades. They are not quite luxury, but they're not quite non-luxury-ish. But again, they've got a really heavy industrial ship, yet they've got starters, you know, things like that. So I feel like they are the ship manufacturer that could be slotted almost anywhere.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Well, again, just look at the cars from Tesla. They started at the high end and they've been working their way down to do a little bit of everything. And again, if you copy Elon, you can quickly see that they could go anywhere.
And you kind of get the idea that's what they're doing with Consolidated Outland.
Yeah.
The reason I don't like Consolidated Outland is the Mustang, because when the Mustang came out, they basically said he's taken the cargo clamp from the Aurora because he's trying to, you know, challenge Aurora and say, oh, they don't do it. He literally took the cargo clamp from the Aurora and then built a ship around it. So I just see him as a thief.
Yep.
I don't like Silas.
And nothing.
I'm sorry, Ben. I don't like Silas.
Yeah. Again, you got to have all types, you know.
That's right. Absolutely.
I have no doubt at some point we might see. Let's take it. Put the shoe on the other foot. Then, an RSI competitor to the Nomad. You know what I mean? Like that would. Why not? You know what I mean? Like why not? And just make it so that they do have this rivalry. Why not? You know.
Which company does the rant? You know, kind of the big, like you know what the traditional Australian ute was like. No, it's just a whole an ordinary, you know. But then you get the American SUV type, Humvee style, you know, the great big, massive ute type ones, and they're coming to Australia, but they're not utes. They're monsters.
Yeah,
they do the same job, but they're totally different.
That is one of the things that really surprised me is when you see something. And I'm not having to go at Americans, by the way, when I say this, but they have some gigantic utes, and I'm just like, what are you going to do with that? Like they're too big. There is a so you know, a utility is meant to be versatile, but these like I've seen ones that the tires are like tractor tires, like it just they make no sense. Like and
the difference is really that the idea of the Australian ute was the farmers' wife wanting a car that they could go to Sunday church in.
Yeah,
but also a car that was usable on the farm.
Yeah,
and so it was this kind of melding of that family sedan and the farm vehicle. It literally became the the ute. Whereas the bigger ones seem more cross country, beefy type stuff. So yeah.
I'm saying they're like they're run over squirrels. Yeah, but you can run over a squirrel in a ute. You don't need this. Like I've literally seen ones that like have like 6 passengers and like they're basically like a minivan crossed with a ute, and they're like way higher than they need to be, and they'll say something like GM motors or something on it, and you see them in a lot of the TV shows. They have these giant truck. They're a truck. They're not a car at that point. They're a truck. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know.
I've got to say, Luna Murray, yes, I did celebrate the end of the stream. Not because I don't like hanging out with you guys. I do. I enjoy this. I've got to say, our live stream is something both X and I enjoy.
Yeah, we do.
We enjoy engaging with you guys. We enjoy the band with each other. Believe it or not. But today is a 40-degree day. It is already getting hot and horrible in here. And if I turn the AC on, you guys will complain. So I'm looking forward to not being in front of the screen under the lights in the heat.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how much the light really gets to me in Algared. It's quite a thing because you are sitting, if I was to turn the lights off, you'd see how dark it gets here pretty quickly. Yep. But it doesn't work without them. But yeah, again, your eyes. Again, if you look into a torch or something like that, you kind of get what I'm talking about. It just gets a bit too much.
I in the stream, it's like everything gone.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, so it is.
So Hook 205 kind of said this, and I think this is kind of what you were implying without actually stating this, Algared. Elon just copied everyone else. Mercedes first released S-Class, then the E-Class, then the C-Class, etc. BMW same, first 7 Series, then the 5 Series, and then 3 Series. Absolutely. But a good person steals. Like, there's a thing, I can't remember what the line is. Something about art. All great art is stolen. Right? There are no, and you hear that a lot in writing too, there are no original ideas anymore. It's just the recombining of them to make them feel fresh. Yeah. And I would kind of agree with most of that statement. And again, if you see what your competitor's doing, it is so much easier to steal what they're doing than do it yourself. Look what happens with Apple. Right? Everyone, like the latest Samsung phones that just dropped the other day, I think they dropped it less than a week ago, and they look identical to the older iPhones. Like identical. They're even made out of titanium, which is what the other ones were. So it's just like, and Samsung did get to taken to court by Apple at one stage. They only won in America and lost in every other country in the world, but the point still stands.
Medica Sounds Guarantee says it's stealing. It's open source.
Well, let's not get started there on Apple and Linux, because they essentially stole Linux and that was open source. And it happens with a lot of things. Like if you want something to take off, so I can look at 3D printing. Prusa made a lot of stuff open source, and basically other companies came along and just stole it, and then made it proprietary. So a company called Bamboo Labs has come along. They've totally changed the entire market with their printers, but the software was taken directly from Prusa, and then they made it proprietary. So they took something that they were given for free, much like Apple did with Linux, and then they made it proprietary. And it's not right. You need to give something back. You can't just take and not, you need to give a little bit back. If you got it for free, and then you're successful, I think it's in good faith that you pay it forward.
Yes, but that's
Yep. Bitmar 64 is not wrong there either. They stole the mouse, and they also sold the file structure as well, Bitmask, from Xerox. The photocopiers. They invented the mouse, not Apple. And the file edit menu system, Apple I can't remember who they tried to take to court, and they lost because they never made it. Xerox made it. And Xerox didn't want to press charges against Apple or the people that stole the system, and so now that's why it's on Windows now, and Apple can't do shit about it. But yeah, since then, copyright has definitely gone up in difficulty. Same thing with what happened with recently with Steamboat Willie and Disney. Disney got that push. I think it was meant to come out like in the 70s, and they got pushed back 20 years twice. So your copyright was meant to be like 40 years, and they've pushed it to 80. What do you call it? public domain rights, or whatever it's called, Algared. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but yeah.
I do, but sorry. Caesar Aquino, new question. We'll move on.
Yep.
What kind of science will the Reliant send do that might make it useful compared to the bigger science ships?
At the moment, I think its main function is plant sampling.
Yeah, I think it'd be, I think you'll take it to do it. It's I kind of think of it like I think of the Prospector. The Prospector I don't think of as being a main mining ship. It's a ship you send out to do to find a sample of, literally to sample stuff, to prospect, to find out if it's worthwhile sending the bigger stuff in.
Yeah, and
imagine,
is it worth bringing the Endeavour over to there to do full scale stuff? But also, can it just go grab a quick sample and bring back to the Endeavour instead of taking the entire Endeavour over there? Yeah.
So I think that's the type of stuff you do it. But yeah, interesting the name Caesar.
That said, though, I would hope eventually you can land the Reliant on the Endeavour because of that reason.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
So the word Caesar, Latin word for for the name of Caesar that became the term, is also where we get our word king from. It's also where we get our word Tsar from. Also where we get our word Kaiser from. They're all the different versions of Caesar are transliterated into the different languages and the way they say the words. So Tsar, Caesar, King, and Kaiser all have the same.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting you talk about translation there because it made me think of El Dorado, and often people mistranslated that to treasure or gold, but El Dorado, a treasure can also be knowledge. So a lot of the time, people assumed El Dorado was a city of gold, but why couldn't it have just been a city of knowledge? That's an example.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking I'm obviously tired.
But those little excursions. Yeah. Luke 5G2 says, at the end of day one of the day one of CitizenCon, Jared was hinting at Pyro. Do you think his pause would have been for Nyx and maybe other systems linked to Squadron 42 to be released with Squadron 42?
I think it's pretty evident they've been working on other things in the background, Algared, when you say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, let's just take the one we know, Nyx and Damer, the line of 5, we know that Orion's been worked on for Squadron 42. They've come out and said that the one that appears in the Persistent Universe will be 10 years later, so you can't imagine there's too much you'd have to change story beat wise to put that into the Star Citizen. So there's another one. They're working on Pyro. So there's 4. The only other one is really the Terran system. And the
last one is whether it goes Terra or whether it goes one of the other branches.
And Terra's a huge system, but do you need that to be there straight away? No. Are there other system offshoots that are, potentially appearing? Well, we know Paul's talked about Magnus, and we've heard other people talk about other ones because there are some smaller ones like Nyx there. It really comes down to, like I said much earlier in the episode, how much work can you get for a game, right? So if you're doing, like, you might look at a smaller system and go, oh, that's very similar to Nyx. Could they quickly just pop that over and do that? Yes. But do you just get that one system? Or if they work on something that takes the same amount of time, but that allows them the very next step after that to do 4 other systems. You get where I'm going with this pretty quickly.
And the other aspect in that is, like, if I put in, say, another system that's very similar to Nyx, what gameplay does it add?
Yeah.
Whereas if I spend a little bit more time, I get a system like Terra that may add significantly more gameplay because so you've got that aspect as well in terms of what it's offering in terms of venues and places to visit and do, as well as the links to other systems and the jump points there. So it's never just a.
Yeah. I always come back to what they're going to get out of it at the end of the day. So, do I think they'll do anything kind of a bit weird, like the Lear system. Like, can we just all of a sudden jump all the way to the Lear system or something like that? And I tend to think, well, maybe, but they can do whatever they need to in as a stopgap.
Yeah.
But realistically, I think like knowing how thought and laid out everything for this game has been, I would be very surprised if it is not done without the same weight and merit, where they really think about what they're getting. Like, for example, we don't really have any lava planets right now, right? But we know that there's meant to be some in Pyro. Another one, Algared, is we don't have the water planets. Yeah, we know they're going to go back to ArcCorp and do the water, as an example. We know you can literally look at ArcCorp and tell that that's very much got some testbed elements in it for Terra, as an example, right? So yeah, I would expect all that stuff to ramp up this year as more people move over. But it comes down to the priority. What's more of a priority for you, Algared? More systems or more gameplay? And I quickly go to gameplay.
More gameplay. Yeah. Yes. Do I want to see more systems? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would I be over the moon if we had Nick's back? Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see Delamar back.
But yeah, again,
love to see Levski.
What gives you more for your amount of work?
And that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
As much as I want to see it, I want to see the gameplay. I want to see more loot.
It's almost like maximizing your efficiency, essentially. Like, you want to get the most amount out of it for the littlest possible, because as time goes by, there's going to be less and less efficiency. It's like what we're saying about the hangars before.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Rusty Pigeon, is that what we're up to?
Yep.
Rusty Pigeon says, question, you guys heard of today's announced layoffs of Microsoft, Xbox, Activision, Blizzard, ZeniMax? About 1,900 people. Hope the capable devs, CIG, have a spot for them. Always sad to see people lose their job. It is very sad. We have talked about this in the past, though, because the difficulty with Star Citizen is it was on the Crytek engine, and it's now morphed into their own engine, is training. So you can bring someone in, and they might, so they got to train them to bring them up to speed, and they talk about how long it takes to train them. They say it takes, I think they said 3 to 9 months to train them, which is a long time. Look at the guy they brought in that worked on the Fury and the Santoki Eye and the Sulian. I think it was just the Sulian and the Fury. But you get my point, right? They were trainings for him before they put him onto other stuff. So just to bring him up to speed, and it'll be the same with that. And again, if they get another job offer that's better, they'll go. So you could you could put 12 months into them and they just up and leave. I think the most famous one there is that what was that, the lady that did the MSR concept, and she ended up working on Star Atlas.
Yep. I can't remember who it was, but yep.
Yeah, she essentially got Sarah, I think her name was, but she got offered a job basically doing what Jean Crew does for Star Atlas, so she left because the pay obviously increased. These are people too, man, and money talks, So
people need to look at their jobs and their future.
And I'd say every game company is a bit similar in that regard. You get some people that are just really passionate about the game they're making, but if they're not into a space game and they're into zombie unicorns, then they would go do that instead. So and I don't blame them. It's a job at the end of the day. Whether it's a good job or a bad job, that's entirely up to the person doing it. But we're all human at the end of the day. So yeah.
So currently, just on that jobs thing, like I know 1,900 people losing their jobs is big.
Yeah, it's across the entire industry, Algared. Yep. There's been, I think it's up to like 40,000 now have lost their jobs in the last 12 months. And it's all cut back cost-saving measures, but that's because the games that they're making are shit, and that's why they're not selling.
Yep. But in CIG, at this present point in time, there are actually 34 positions that are open.
Yeah.
Across 1 in Austin, 8 in Frankfurt, 22 in Manchester, and 3 in Montreal.
Also, it depends where they were lost from, because if you've got to relocate from one side of the world to the other, that makes it difficult too.
Yeah, and I know there was some of the people who work at Austin had left because one of the reasons or they would need to relocate, and they couldn't relocate.
The other part of this is we do hear about people hearing their jobs, but we don't hear about them being rehired. Now,
yeah,
the other one that came out the other day was Riot Games, the makers of League of Legends, Valorant, and stuff like that. They let I think it was 10 to 11% of their workforce go in the last couple of days. But the other thing that a lot of the people didn't report on is in the last 2 years, they've grown in size by 5 times.
Yeah.
So that they grew too fast was a part of why they dropped the go. So where do you reckon they got those from? They've come from other studios. That's a lot of people 5 times is a lot of people to grow the size of your company. And Riot Games, believe it or not, Algared, I don't know if you knew this, are right near the the old LA studio of CIG. Believe it or not, they were right next to each other. So yeah, there was a coloration there. So they probably got some people from CIG and vice versa at some point. I wouldn't be surprised, would you?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it sucks when people lose their jobs. It sucks when the layoffs. Yeah. But then there are, it's not the end of the world for people, and
well, that's also why this project has taken so long, because training is a part of it,
Yep.
And
also, I'd like to think it's also slow growth. Like, I know we're now looking at close to 2,000 people working for the company, the board, I think. I certainly know that the Manchester office is supposed to be big enough for 2,000.
We've also heard, though, it's
been
been
room to grow, but it's still
it's not the easiest company to work for either. We've heard that in the past too. Like, they have a very quick turnaround on a lot of things. They're very high pressure compared to not all game developers run that way. They tend to arc up, where these guys just seem to keep a constant high pace. So yeah, not everyone's cut out for that. Some people like to, ebb and flow a bit.
Yep. And sometimes people aren't a good fit in a company. That's true.
True.
So, but yeah, there are positions out, like I said, there are 40 positions, or close to 40 positions currently available in CIG. They're always employing and hiring. So, but the training time of them takes time. It takes time to get them online and do the other stuff. And and then as if Blizzard's closing down or winding up a game or the development of a project, once that's wound up, are those people, if I was signed on as artists and the artist job is done and there's no more artist work, well, they move on to a new job. Does that mean do they get included in that layoff? So yeah, it's
all right. Drop Yogurt says, question: what are the chances of being able to use drones for capturing battle footages? I'd say it's pretty high. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Absolutely. That would have been, that'd be a really cool thing on the Mako, actually. If that little eye camera dropped off and it was a drone.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of
never
cool.
know. Never say never.
Never. I don't really have anything else to add to that, Algared, unless you do.
Oh, yeah, it'd be cool. Yeah. What are the chances?
Oh, yeah. God, I'm going to butcher this name. Walter Andersuten says, Tyler CM did a poll on X Twitter about the place. I don't know why I'm doing German accent. But place.
Yeah, is a very German sounding name.
So Tyler did a post on Twitter about the place of CitizenCon 2954. What is your guess about the location?
Manchester.
I don't know. Well, question: do you think we'll be able to buy module? Oh, well, that's the next question. Hang on. Let's go have a look at this post by Tyler then, if I can bring it up.
My last understanding was around October, I think it was 10th or 12th in Manchester.
All right, let's have a look. So apparently there's been a post, a poll. Manchester, 31%. Holy crap. Well, there you go. Interesting. Very interesting. That actually kind of scares me how low LA is, though. Luckily, it was just there, and look how low it is.
But I think that's why people are giving it the low vote, because was just there.
Well, here's another example. I didn't know it was on Twitter. Did you know it was on Twitter? Not everyone uses Twitter. I
No.
very rarely use this. I only use this to communicate because a lot of people that follow Star Citizen on here, but yeah. I don't know. Algared, are you a Twitter X person?
No.
Yeah. So again, I think that is. Do you know where I would have done that? On their YouTube channel. You can poll on the YouTube channel. I think if you're going to do it on Twitter, it's only fair you go onto the YouTube and do the same thing.
Or even on their channel.
Yeah. So Tyler, if you're watching this, please go on the YouTube channel and do that poll again, because I think why don't you do that on the show? Leave us a comment. Let us know, or go to this community post or go to this Spectrum post, and there's a poll there. We would like to see your feedback. That's what you do. You do it to the whole community, not just a selection. So yeah,
that's rather BS if you do it that way. I'm sorry. Twitch
I think you'll find that your results there are very skewed.
I think, as you are a community manager.
Mm.
How on earth do you say you're representing the community if you just do it there? Seriously, that's BS. I'm sorry. That is slack ass BS community managing, in my opinion, because you've just excluded 90% of your audience. I'm sorry.
Again, maybe he didn't think of.
Yeah, maybe it is that off period time, but yeah. And people make mistakes.
Again, he does say just curious, so he's probably just trying to see what other people are thinking and didn't think of it.
But still, if you want to true view of what your community is thinking. But the last I heard was Manchester, so
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's the last we've heard anyway. Right. Question: do you think we'll be able to buy modules with LTI? And that was by Hook 2005. If they're new, yes.
Yeah. So, they tend to do that with the same.
So like the Retaliator modules, I'd say no. But like if they brought out, say, Caterpillar modules, yes.
Yeah. Or if they brought out new Retaliator modules, or when they bring out modules for the Carrack's cargo pods, and yes. But if they brought out, say, they resell the Endeavour modules, they don't come with LTI.
Algared, two things I want to talk about real quick. Obviously, we're moving the show next week. I do want to talk about that. So the next week will be a day later, same time, but a day later. So just let you guys know. And have you heard much about Power World at all? I'm curious.
I have seen some stuff on stream, but that's on Steam, not stream.
It's really interesting. Well, it's really interesting because another game very similar just dropped yesterday called Enshrouded. And so now they reckon there's going to be this fight between Power World and Enshrouded. So, and I'm in the Enshrouded camp because I was never a Pokemon fanboy. So, yeah.
The only Pokemon, like I know there are some people like Jez is a Pokemon. I think he's a Pokemon.
Yeah. So
basically, Pokemon in terms of spaceships.
Yeah, so the takeaway is if you're a Pokemon fan, you'll probably prefer Power World. If you are more into something like, say, Valheim, you'll probably prefer Enshrouded. And I was playing it with John Citizen. It was pretty funny. We're trying to do the boss, and it's like the train deforms, and so the boss is just like swinging this big thing and just like leaving these huge holes in the ground, and it was like, oh shit, what's going on? So yeah, bit of fun to be had. So yeah.
No, I did see. I also saw an ad for Enshrouded.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so that's about it.
They're both cheap. Pick one up, have some fun. Play a game. Why you can't really play Star Citizen all that much at the moment? Go enjoy some other games. So if you're into Pokemon, go try out Power World. Yep. I haven't tried it out, but I believe Enshrouded and Power World are both around. They're about 38 Australian dollars. I think that works out to be about 25 American or somewhere in that ballpark anyway.
Now, I did see a question in our YouTube chat. I haven't seen it pop up yet. I'm not sure if it's going to get picked. It was just, is this a good game? i.e. Star Citizen. And my opinion is yes. I've always thought it's a good game. But I'm biased.
Yeah, I think we are biased, but I think let's let Squadron 42 do the talking when it drops. And I once we see that, we're going to see the gameplay, we're going to see the level of work and commitment they've gone into, and I don't they can't afford to have it fail, right? So it's like Paul said, like he's expecting an 8 out of 10. You know, and I think in most people's cases,
I think if I don't get an 8 out of 10,
yeah,
they'll have failed.
Yeah,
that's how they'll do it.
If they exceed that though, that's a win for us all, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they want to be under an 8 out of 10, and I think from what I've seen so far, I think it will be, and we don't know any of the story beats, things like that.
Yeah, based on what I've seen, I don't see it being less than that. But I've always looked at it. I looked at ArtCorp, ArtCorp, Arena Commander when it first came out, and as little as Arena Commander was when it first came out, it was still as good as several AAA games that were out there. And that's a scary, horrible thought to think of.
Yeah.
But AAA games were so shit.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say.
That's not saying Arena Commander was shit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's
all good. I we'll just leave it and see what happens. But yeah. All right.
We've done that one.
Luke 5G2 says, "What are your predictions for 4.0 full pyro release by the end of the year? If they have server meshing, if they have everything they require, I don't think there's a date on Algared. Do you?"
I haven't said no. I haven't heard of a date. All we've heard, the only thing we've heard them say is we're now feature complete, and most of the stuff that you saw in the video will be in game. That's what they're aiming. If they get server meshing working to the point where they can get pyro in, I think they'll bring it in.
Yeah.
And I think that's always been their goal: get it in as soon as they can. But
I remembered what I wanted to say now. So it's basically just like as more and more people, time has gone on, more and more people have come into the game.
Yeah.
So you can tell that as they add things, the interest is increasing. It's never really been this detractory factor, right? So even just if you look at just the PU and only the PU, you can see that the gameplay is deep enough there, and we're only in the infancy of it yet. So if you take that and work it out over time, I just don't, unless they stuff up or drop the ball majorly, which I just don't see them doing.
No.
I just don't see it not succeeding at this point, especially with Squadron 42 being so close now.
Yeah, and to pick up that point, there are several people we've spoken to. We're talking Squadron 42, and we're saying, hey, you bought in, and say, I didn't even know about Squadron 42. I came in for the PU, and I'm hanging around for the PU.
We also had people on the other side of that, though, that got really mad that they were working on Squadron 42 and not Star Citizen, and then you'd have to sit them down and explain that to them, and then they'd change their tune because they realized it was all about the funding. So,
yeah. So, yeah. So I'd like pyro earlier, but yeah.
Yeah.
Go
for it.
I've been out of a loop for a while. Any idea on info of none?
No, none at all. Sorry. So yeah.
But often in the big ships, no news is good news. In a sense, it's because the ships are always better when they come out later.
Absolutely.
So
not that they won't get the gold pass and brought up to standard, but it's just that they're nicer while you have them.
They're nicer. The gameplay tend to be more worked out.
Yeah.
It's just a lot more stuff. But no, we don't know anything about the crystal. But it is still at its original concept.
Yeah. So it's a great time to pick it up if you're even remotely into it. And I think that's the difficulty though. Like you're talking about different types of people here that have come along as the time's gone on. You got the people right at the start that wanted to will this thing into existence. And then you've got people that have come in because they've seen it developing. And now it's starting to become a reality. You're starting to see, but as the ship prices are increasing and things like that, they're trying to. It's like they can see it starting to be a real tangible thing. But then the last type of people are those people that will just, until it's physically able to be played and it's a real thing, they will never buy.
Yeah,
and that just shows you shoot the whole human gamut, right? Like it takes different. It takes a village, I think is the saying, right? It does. It takes all different types of people for this world to work.
Yeah.
Right. Sebastian, besides the Gladius, Scorpius, Hornet, and Lightning, which fighters are directly used by the UAE military? Algared?
I would have to go back and have a look. Haven't given it much thought. Gladius, Scorpius, Hornet, Lightning.
God, man, I think they'd use a whole bunch. Like the Mantis would be in there.
The M50 is used by the. Well, that's used by the Advocate, not the.
The Razor, they got that black version of the Razor that's a military.
They use them scouting. So yeah,
Freelancer Miss.
Yep, kind of a military thing.
Starfarer Gemini is another one. Any of those ships that have a green armored looking skin, there's a good tip of the hat.
They did specifically say fighters, not other ships. So, but yeah.
Okay, right. Stand corrected.
So yeah, I can't think of
Tanner. The Tanner.
A Tanner may be, but whether they're actually specifically used by the military, I can't recall.
Again, it's got a green military skin. If they have a green military skin, so the Hawk is one. There's another one. You can go on the site, and there are all these green military skins.
UEE military green skins, and they're definitely by the military. I'd have to go delving into the lore. I haven't done that for a while in terms of the military ships.
I wonder if I can actually filter for military on the paint. So I bet you I can't, but I will check because their filtering is disgustingly shit.
But Siege is back. Definitely a fun time.
No one cares. Stop trying to make it a thing until it's actually.
Yes, thank you, Shady.
Yeah, it's definitely one.
The Vanguard, that is definitely one. Because the Vanguard is the tip of the spear, the first of their long range fighters.
There we go. All these ones. All right, I'll flick this over. So this is the Timberline. All right, so they're on screen. Cool, sweet. So you've got the Gladius, the Vanguard, the Hawk, the Hornet, the Hercules, or the M2. Oh, it's not a fighter. You're looking for fighters, weren't you? 100 series, so 120. I just don't see the military using a 125A. I don't know why. But yeah. So yeah, I think the outliers there that you probably missed would be the Vanguard and the Hawk. Good.
Yeah.
And the Tanner?
The Vanguard is definitely one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the Timberline paints are actually their military skins though, so you want the ones if you want to be definitive, you want the ones with the UEE.
Yeah. I just grabbed these ones because they're close and I can't remember the name of the other ones. But yeah, I think that I know there's a green one for that and that they all have them, so.
But I do know, we do know the Gladius, we do know the Vanguard, we do know the Hornet, we do know the F8C.
We know the.
Thank you, Shady Days.
Actually, I was going to say the Avenger, but that's actually the Advocacy, isn't it? So yeah.
Advocacy was Avenger. Saber's another one. Gladiator. I know that's a torpedo bomber, but it's
right. We got a first-time chatter called Fat Old Lion who says the U.S. Army uses small unarmed aircraft to ferry generals around. Well, there you go.
Yep.
So yeah,
and the UE uses hull seas and airfarers and everything else.
Didn't they talk about that with the Lynx, Algared, when that came out? Something similar to that.
Yeah, I think they talked about that idea of it being to take generals or VIPs around to. But so yep.
Right. Luke 5G2 says, question, with us getting the ability to base build and make space stations, do you think that we'll be able to build a small moon? I mean, a Death Star. So unlike a game like someone using Shrouded as an example, or any game where you can deform the terrain, I don't think it will be like that. Me and Algared have talked about this, but it would be more pieces of under the terrain as a module. So yes, you could have things under the terrain, but for example, to make it a Death Star, wouldn't you have to have a giant laser that shoots into space?
Awesome.
That's missing as an example. But I think you'd be more likely to get an asteroid base. Algared?
Yes, you could have an asteroid base. However, Project Archangel is the building of SynthWorld. The endeavor to try and build a planet, a fake planet. Now, all the tech and stuff that goes with that, which is kind of Leilani Addison type pushing stuff, and why we should keep going is because the technical advantages. I was actually thinking the other day, literally, and I was thinking, I could see one of the offshoots of Project Archangel being a small moon-sized ship used by the UEU. Call me crazy.
Yeah, we know you are. All right, I'm going to cut the bot off
never
here
say never.
because there's more questions coming in, but we're at the end. We had one question, now we've got two. So, second last question. Jay Warzinski says, what were you guys' opinions about the post saying PvP opt-out was fake? That made the rounds and started some community. That was someone making drama. Yeah, not a fan of drama. Fake post. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Algared?
No, it goes back. I think it's someone trying to pick up the old slider.
Yeah.
But the whole PvP argument, certainly from PvP people, I dislike when it's must PvP with me, otherwise you're ruining my fun.
Yeah.
And not accepting or understanding and discounting the argument that I don't want to PvP with PvP, you are ruining my fun. And both comments not being accepted as true and accurate.
Yeah. Having such a narrow view that you can't even see the other side is a bit weird.
And so, that's, so I'm always negative against that approach.
Yeah.
There's got to be that, there needs to be, or that you want that element where there is that PvP because it's fun, and also the PvP. I don't want to PvP at them because it's fun. And it's that dichotomy that so many people struggle with.
So before we get to the last question, I'm actually looking who we could raid on Twitch. Yep. I can't see anyone that I know, so we might have to raid a random, unless you can. Yeah. Right. You want to get to the last question from Shempasta, Algared?
I'm going to go to what's going to be the second last question.
Okay.
And Tentacle Love says in stream, in YouTube, is this the last question?
Yes.
No, it's not the last question because we're taking Shempasta.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd do that for you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yes. So Shempasta has the last question.
Yep.
And Shempasta says, do you think base building will be like No Man's Sky or Pal World, or more build and drop a module? For example, I have module, storage module, etc.
I think base building will be like No Man's Sky in Power World, or do you build or drop a module, for example? I think you'll drop it and it'll be built over time. And I think the buildings are modular rather than like if you look at the ones in the trailer they showed, they were kind of pretty complete buildings, were they not, Algared? So yeah, I think you're connecting buildings by tunnels and stuff like that, and that's where the customization get. Well, that's what it looked like to me, Algared. You tell me if you feel any different.
No, I think we'll see it more by buildings, and then either they'll either be tunnels, or be you'll get into your spacesuit and you'll walk between a bit like prefabs, as Crazy Carl was saying in chat. Whether we'll see, I think we'll do the thing where we'll pick. If we're building by scratch, it's like we'll pick the design style, we'll pick the size of the building or what the role of the building is, and then it will kind of build that. But it'll be to a plan rather than just us building what we anyway. But it could be something different. But yeah.
I'm just trying to find someone to raid, but having a bit of difficulty. We're going to raid this guy. I don't know who he is. I've never seen him before.
Yeah. Before you do that, Cheats49, in answer to your question, is it a good time to upgrade my PC for Star Citizen Squadron 42?
Yeah.
I would go into the Tech Chalk channel and ask and nut through, and they'll look at what you've got and give you advice or thoughts. And that's just tech people that frequent our channel, and they will probably help. So who we rate?
I was gonna raid this guy called Whistlelock, but he said he's currently sitting in Photoshop. But he was on Star Citizen, so now I don't know what to do. I'm not good with Twitch. I'm talking about. Is there anyone on Twitch you guys would like to raid on Twitch? Twitch. Admiral's not streaming though, Shem. Oh wait, no, you're messaging him because he was in chat with you, right? I feel like a stupid idiot now. Well, all right. Open this one. Have a quick look. Yep, he's in game. So we're gonna raid this guy. His name is Leaping Larry. He's a smaller creator. Nothing wrong with that. Hopefully he appreciates the raid. So we'll go with Larry. Make sure you break his bot because people like that have smaller things, they don't have their bot set up correctly, and so it just like spams for 10 minutes. It's always funny to see. I always have a good laugh. Wait, is Vertigo on? I didn't see Vertigo live. Oh, he is live. Oh shit. All right, well let's do Vertigo. We all know Vertigo. I didn't see him live. Who else is live? Moist is live.
A few by the look of it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see who we got. So Moist is playing Enshrouded. I think we got to do. I actually think we got to do Moist because he was the one that gave me the title for today's show. So I've got to pay it forward, so to speak. So we'll do Moist.
Tell him it definitely is moist. Not moist. It's definitely spicy.
Yeah, it's definitely spicy. And yeah, basically ask him how he's enjoying Enshrouded. Tell him Execute's playing.
Ask him if it's spicy.
Yeah, and is it spicy? And just keep mentioning the word spicy, and then say what the hell's going on with this spicy, and then tell him. Yeah, that's what I'd do. So
just keep asking if it's spicy.
And I'll drop by later and see. Tell him you can tell him I watched him play Enshrouded all day yesterday, and I didn't really message him much. Oh, I think I did once, maybe. But yeah. All right. With that, then Twitch say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube say goodbye to Twitch.
Bye, Twitch.
And they're gone. As for YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to all those people that went extra mile on the end of video in the credits on Patreon. We will have an episode for you on the weekend. Don't know what it's gonna be yet, do we, Algared? We haven't worked that out.
We'll look for some of our low-hanging fruit. Learn them around. You have let us down.
Yeah,
you've let us down.
Right.
Where our topics that we got to put you on hold for weeks as we plan for it. But no, but we'll work something out.
Yep.
All
right. With that, then he's been Algared.
He's been Execute. We're out of here.
See you, citizens.